Hey guys, once again, thought I'd do another live thing. So yeah, if anyone wants to come on for a bit, then let me know and I can get you a link. But till then, I'm really just gonna be on Twitter for a bit, I think, see if there's anything new on there. I'll just well, actually, something I did on Twitter was I did this poll, and it's just finished, I think. So I asked, "Have you ever seen the curve of the Earth?" So I asked this question, 60 votes, and only 17% said they did, and 83% said no. So yeah, not a lot of people on there have seen it. So yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? There are a lot of people waking up to this flat Earth stuff, whether you want to call it waking up or not. But it is something that when you realize the flat Earth, or you realize it's not a globe, then it pretty much exposes everything else. I mean, if you're able to open your mind up enough to think that the Earth could possibly be not a globe, then it opens it up to loads of other things, doesn't it? So I advise people to keep an open mind to everything, because you never really know that you never know what secrets they're trying to hide and what have you. So we got John Watson, how are you doing? Candy Franklin, how are you doing? So yeah, so I'm just gonna share this out on Twitter, just to let people know I'm going live right now. So yeah, just try and share this out if you can. Let people know I'm going live right now. So yeah, Dell's Hangout was good last night. It's always good. It was funny last night. If any of you saw it, if any of you didn't see it, it was basically one of the guys that came on it. He got interrupted, and it was just quality. As Dell says, when it comes out, we're going to be looking back on these moments. It's going to be comedy gold, isn't it? I do like what he's been doing lately, where he's like just giving people a slot so that they can say what they want, and if it's interesting, he'll let them keep talking for longer. But it's like he wants to give people a chance to talk, on their own, and not like be interrupted by other people, because when the panels get really big, they tend to kind of people are talking on top of each other and the conversations get kind of misdirected, and that's something that's a bit more controlled if you have like a formula for doing your hangouts and things. I'm just sharing it out. Just shared it out. Got anyone else? No, not got anyone else just yet. So anyway, so someone called Answers in Reason, like replying to somebody. Scientism is what people use to try and discredit evidence-based science as quackery, e.g. such as the flat earth or anti-vax movements do. Scientism is believing in a globe, because actually no, it's not the belief. It is believing in a globe, because it's you believe in science rather than actually doing your own science and doing your own things. Most people who accept a globe, they don't even know why they believe it. They just believe it because everyone else believes in it, and that's it. They just follow the herd. They never really stop and think why they believe in it. Why do I believe in a globe when I've never seen the curve or had the experience of curve, or motion rather, and what is gravity? What are these things that they're talking about? And there was this guy called Red Pill Philosophy, and he's not a flat earth believer, but he's saying that people who investigate the flat earth are actually more intelligent than those who blindly believe in the globe earth, because they just blindly accept something without investigation. And as I'd say, truth does not fear investigation. Someone put on Twitter, dumbass troll of the year, hashtag stupid tweet with face palm and hashtag flat earth fail. Okay, well, anyway, got Neil Robert, how are you doing? Eternal Padawan, cool. Yeah, I hope you had a good time at the Star Wars Expo. Because you said that even though the flat earth stuff, you still enjoy your sci-fi stuff, and the thing is, it makes you realize even more that it is sci-fi. It's not science and fiction mixed. It's actually completely fiction based. Anyway, we've got Kander, how you doing? Just it's good that, because what I did yesterday is I actually marked up a £10 note, and when I gave it, I was like, "What's this?" Like, the Earth is not a globe. YouTube flat Earth. And I was like, and I was like, "Who's written this?" And I was like, I don't know. I was like, "It's okay." So I suppose the good thing about doing that is it's like, there's no proof that you did it. It's not like you're having to like go up to them and talk to them about it. It's planted a seed, hasn't it? And that's the good thing, because if you can just plant a seed in somebody, even if they don't go pursue it themselves, because obviously money, it circulates, which means, someone else will see it, and then someone else might see it. It keeps getting passed on and passed on. And someone apparently did it, and they eventually it came back round to them, which was interesting. But yeah, I think people are going to be waking up soon. It can't be too far off critical mass. It's just all this activism that's going on, and it's like, yeah, it's really exciting times, I think. But then some are feeling scared as well. Some people are like really scared of what could happen. But as long as you're not in too much fear, then I think we can get through this. It's the fear that they feed off of, I think. If we're all in fear of this, if they can get everyone to be all in fear, then, because what if that's what they want, is if we all wake up and then we're all in fear, then, so, I mean, possibly they're going to start World War III or something, and who knows. But I definitely think they have something planned. But, I think the only reason they're in power is because we believe they're in power. So, that manifests, our beliefs, because we all collectively believe that. That's why we have to wake everyone up, because if everyone collectively wakes up, then we can all, manifest a new reality. So when people talk about the end times, couldn't it just be, like the awakening, and the point where everyone wakes up, it's the end of the world as we know it. So, when it was like 21st of December 2012, and everyone thought it was going to be the end of the world. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people thought it might be the end of the world. What if that was just, like the end of an era sort of thing, the point where, everybody becomes enlightened, it's the age of enlightenment, so, so it's not good to take things too literally. And I never really believed in that whole end of the world in the 2012 thing, it didn't make any sense to me. But it could have been something else, like I said, it could have been the awakening, because it seemed like that was the time when a few people did start to become aware to different things, whether it be, so a few people did start becoming aware of flat Earth, a few people did become aware of the moon landings, 9/11, and lots of other things, cloning, whatever. I don't know, still not too sure about that. It's just one of those rabbit holes, isn't it? And flat Earth does lead you down a lot of different rabbit holes, but I already kind of was down a couple of things before flat Earth, but it was all just to me, it was like a gradual process. And when I found it, it was something that I could just really easily accept, because it was like, well, I'm not surprised. It's like, I knew that they were evil. These governments and things, they're all evil people, so it's like, it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. But then a year or two earlier than that, I would have believed that that we could go to space, and that we could all the wormholes and things. What the hell? I couldn't really get my head around that idea, but it was like, for me, it was just, like I said, it was a gradual process, because I became aware of chemtrails because someone told me about them. That was back in 2015, so and that kind of but it didn't really get me to look into a lot of other things. But I suppose it kind of, because even before then, I was like, I knew that the government really kind of was this, they're just a scam, they're just after all the power, that something like 1% of people have like 99% of the wealth, or something crazy like that. It's this whole hierarchy, and I did not like that. I never liked it. So anyway, so Chopa, when I did enjoy, but it was a bit kiddie for me to hand out too many cubes, but gave out about 30 and placed a few around, but my memory ran out for filming. Still good you did the activism though, Don't think it really matters too much about filming, but it's just, to do that whenever you can, really. But I mean, there's people doing the filming of it and stuff, and that's cool, but people are doing it, kind of just without, thinking about filming it, really, so it doesn't really matter too much. But anyway, all right, cool, I'll chat to you later then, D. So we got Jolly Lolly, how you doing? So yeah, I mean, because some people say that, when they found out about flat Earth, it was like the first thing that they found out about, and it exposed everything else for them. I suppose people are at different stages stages of their awakening, and it's like, if you want to call it the awakening, but everyone is sort of they kind of, you have to sort of like respect people because they're all at different stages. So because some people haven't been aware of too many conspiracies and things like that. So to tell them about flat Earth, it's going to completely change their paradigm, because they thought that that people, it couldn't have been possible that people could do such a thing. But when you think about it, there is such evil people out there that do not care what how they affect people and what have you. They'll just do whatever it takes to keep power and what have you. Some really sick people out there, and and to me, flat Earth, it kind of just proves how sick people can be, as because but at the same time, it's like, I believe that not a lot of what they do is actually illegal. If anything, really, they figured out a way of being corrupt without actually breaking any law. Now, it might be illegal what they're doing, but it's not unlawful. So so when people talk about 9/11, it seems kind of a divisive thing when you talk about whether it's a total hoax or whether it's somewhat of a hoax or what have you. But if it were that no one where they didn't kill anyone at 9/11, then if people did just die because of what happened, like if people just got in the way and got killed or something, then that was not something that they would take responsibility for. I mean, it's funny how a lot of people say that they know people who have, died in 9/11, but, it's like one of those things where, I've heard people saying that no one did die, so it's something I'm going to really have to look into. But it is quite a bold claim to say that nobody did die, and I can understand why people would get triggered, because especially if they were in it, at the time, they were experiencing it at the time, So if anything, maybe if that was to be the case, then that might be the bottom of the rabbit hole, or not the bottom, but rather it's further down than even flat Earth is, because it's like, if they can fake 3,000 victims, then it'd be like, that would be like probably huge. But to me, the flat Earth in a way is the hugest thing, because it's like, it's all encompassing. It's like, once you realize it, you realize how everything else is interconnected, and everything else links to the bigger picture that we're being lied to about the whole universe, what the universe is, and what we are and who we are. So anyway, let's see what people have to say. There's not going on in chat at the moment, but but I don't have a stance when it comes to 9/11, because I haven't done enough research on it, because a lot of people talk about it, but in a way it doesn't interest me so much, because what happened. It's like, I tend to focus on flat Earth because it's something that we can all prove really easily. So D was talking about the legalese stuff, and how he's focusing a bit more on that. And if he's going to talk to people, do some activism or whatever, talk to people about like the legalese stuff. But the thing is, it's like, some people are just not interested. Then some people aren't interested in flat Earth either. Some people might just not get it, like these things, But I suppose it might be good to try and focus on different things, and it's a way of maybe reaching out to more people and trying to wake more people up. Because if you can wake people up to different things, if we're all awake and we're all looking for the truth, even though we might believe in different things, but if we're all looking for the truth and we all no longer trust in the government, then that would be really, we'd all be able to kind of at least have a chance of taking them down then. Anyway, we've got Millennium. Jeremy's spot on, keep researching everything. Yeah, it's good to stay open to everything, and I know there's different things that are like rabbit holes and stuff, and and people seem to ridicule certain things, and without really thinking too much about it, or what have you, or really looking into it so much. Remember, we think that we're on a flat stationary plane, everyone else still thinks they're on a globe. Now, don't kind of think something's stupid without really investigating it, because some of you probably thought flat Earth was stupid before you really investigated it. Some people probably thought it was a psyop before investigating it. some people still think it's a psyop, and some, don't realize that it is the mother of all conspiracies. It's like, well, how is it a psyop when it's really waking people up to everything, isn't it? It's making people aware that we're not just some random accident, unless it's that they want to wake people up for some reason that, like, if they get everyone to wake up, then they have a reason to kill everyone then or something. But if they had that much power, they'd have already done it. These people at the top, if they've got all these weapons and what have you, then they would have already done it. I think a lot of it is fear mongering. It's all, the nukes and things. I think it's just fear porn, isn't it? It's just a kind of because if it cause fear in us, then it's kind of stopping us from actually making any difference. If it cause enough fear in somebody, then then it's it's going to make people just think, well, there's not much point doing anything because they're going to kill us off anyway. If we all think like that, then well, there's really no point us even bothering with it. We might as well just stop it all and just go back to what we were doing before. But now we know that everything's all just corrupt. So what you were doing before, it's probably put you off doing it now, because now you realise it's all just propaganda and what have you. Anyway, we got Jazzaconda. What's the go with gravity? If it's not gravity, it's sure as shit density and buoyancy. Well, what's your proof? We got Adam H. Hi all, how you doing? Well, I think when the flat earthers say it's density and buoyancy, well, something falls because it's denser than the air around it. But the reason why things fall down and not up, I'm not 100% sure on that. And obviously this is an ongoing investigation. But gravity would be necessary if we lived on a ball. Because that's their only way of explaining how objects will stick to it. We are waking up. How you doing? Anyway, so we got Jonathan Daltrey. How are you doing? Jazzaconda, a hammer and a feather will fall at the same velocity in a vacuum. They hit the ground at the same time. So what's your point? They hit the ground at the same time? Okay. Well, so you think that one should come down faster than the other? Well, yeah, we do not live in a vacuum. No. A hammer and a feather. What the feather will just float down, won't it? Or something? I don't know. It won't just like plunge down like a hammer would. You got Neil Robert again. Hollow Earth, not flat. So have you got any proof of the curvature then? Because you must have a curvature in your model. So anyway. Well, it's kind of a shame I don't live somewhere where I can see something like 100 miles away, because then I'll be able to like show people like, look, you can see that, and it's like 100 miles away, and it's like, why should you be able to see that if we're on a ball? There'll probably be some observations that you can find somewhere, but I've heard you can actually see the Lake District from North Wales, apparently. Not 100% sure on that, but it wouldn't surprise me if you could see it on a clear day. There's a picture from Snowdon to the Lake District, and it is a bit it's not like a clear picture, it's kind of hazy looking, but you can see quite a bit of the Lake District by the looks of things. So if I was to put on the calculator, so let's put in Earth curve calculator to just find out the distance. I'm gonna put Snowdon to. Hang on, I'm gonna put it in the ProFlight's distance calculator, because that'll give you the straight line distance. So that's about the furthest way of finding out the distance, really. So we got Snowdon, Lake District. Find out the distance. So it's 104 miles. So the height of Snowdon is 3,560 feet. Target distance 104 miles, and there should be about 638 feet hidden. Well, I guess that's it wouldn't really be hiding a massive amount of it, really. So I suppose that wouldn't be like the best proof, really. But if it's possible to see the Lake District further down, then that could be like a evidence that it's not a globe. But who knows? If I'm to believe that the Earth is like a globe, then one end of Loch Ness should be about 346 feet lower than the other. So if I'm standing say I'm on a boat or something, I'm just a few feet, then it should be like 260 or like 260 feet should be hidden at the end of the end of it should be 260 feet lower lower. So say if there's some hills at the end of it, then they should be 260 feet lower, and I should be able to see the end of it, really, sort of thing. Obviously, it depends on how calm the water is. Well, anyway. There is no moon FFS. Well, I don't think it's what they're telling us it is anyway. I don't think it's 238,900 miles away. You know, that kind of distance is kind of hard to imagine, really. And then the sun's supposed to be 93 million miles away, and they just happen to appear to be the same size. And that's why that when there's a solar eclipse, it can actually just, you know, like it can fit over it like a puzzle piece, like just as if by magic. Yeah, I can't even believe I actually fell for that, you know, and that actually kind of, but I suppose I thought it was just some settled fact that we were in this heliocentric model, but why is there so many people who are, you know, who are sort of doubting it now? And, you know, yeah, so anyway, if it's possible to see the Isle of Man from Snowdonia, should be, but who knows? I'll have a check, see if it is. See, I'm just on this website now. I'm just because, you know, people will submit these pictures of long distance lines of sight and things like that. So Ben Nevis Summit, 55 miles away, but obviously I don't know the height of wherever they were 55 miles away. Apparently black comb or something, showing Liverpool city centre with left to right, the RC Anglican cathedrals and the commercial towers clearly visible. I'm going to have to find out the distance of that, so let's just find that out. So black comb, it's 600 meters, is 1,968.5 feet. So let's find out how far these places are from each other, if I can. So Black Comb, whatever you want to call it. So it's like Comb with an E at the end or something. Liverpool, which is a distance of 60 miles. So if I put that in. Yeah, well, actually, it should only be hiding 21 feet. So, yeah, probably should be possible almost to the bottom of it. So, yeah, that wouldn't be a surprise even on a globe, to be honest. If I can find... Actually, it does say the distance. I didn't even look at that. Hang on a minute. So, I'm saying they used to live in Iceland, and from the cliffs near whatever that place is called, you could see the mountains of Greenland over 160 miles away in certain conditions. Well, I'd have to find out about that. But 160 miles is a long, long way. You know, if you're up high, then the atmospheric conditions are going to be less of an effect. I think when you're talking about sea level and looking over, you know, large amounts of ocean, it can affect it. But if you're up higher and you're looking over mountains, then it's going to have less of an effect when it comes to, you know, atmospheric refraction and things like that. And, you know, so you're going to have a much clearer idea of whether you're on a globe or on a flat Earth, because there's less variables that are going to get in the way. But anyway, there's a lot of sites that will talk about lines of sight and things like that, you know, that they'll talk about long distance observations. So it's a beyond horizons, lines of sight. But well, I doubt the top view is probably going to be possible. Hang on a minute. Is 237 miles. Wow. So this is it's longest ground to ground line of sight ever photographed is 381 kilometers, 237 miles. Well, actually, the longest is 273 miles, I think, but it might have been after this was put out, but let's just find out anyway. From Mont Canigou in the French Pyrenees to the French Alps against the background of the rising sun. So Mount Canigou is, let's find out the height of that. So it's a height of 2,785 meters. So I'm going to see if it should be possible to see this. 9137.139. That's feet. Distance of 237 miles. So let's see what that'll bring out. So 237 miles, it should be 9,590 feet hidden. So what is the highest point in the Alps? 15,781 feet. So 9,137 out of hang on, no, that's the eye height. So 9,590 feet out of 15,781 feet should be hidden. Now, arguably, you could see the top of it, but So anyway, let's see if there's anyone else in chat. So we've got Marcel Millenars. How you doing? So anyway, Kriller Falcus. How you doing? So all Apollo data was not just footage was lost. Greatest achievement of mankind was tossed. Yeah, I mean that should be maybe an alarm bell for some people. If it's like that was supposed to be the biggest achievement for mankind, and they lost the data. Yeah, so we got on a plane. How you doing? So yeah, I'm just trying to see if I can find some more of these long distance. Like, let's just yeah, there are a lot of observations that people have done where it proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that we're not on a globe. And people can argue refraction and things, but when we're talking about from a height, and obviously it depends on how much sea and stuff you're looking across. But when you're talking about observations that are beyond 150 miles, it's like a lot of them are proving that we can't be on a globe, because high up it's like, yeah, it's going to give you more of a higher vantage point, but then there should be less refraction because less moisture looking through and things like that. So you can't have it both ways. Anyway, so Jadaconda, well, thanks for getting in chat. Well, thanks for that. Try my best. Yeah. Obviously, there are people with different names that I'm not too familiar with, so just gotta try my best. So I apologise to anyone if I don't pronounce their names correctly. Anyway, so yeah, apparently Burl Sanchez is going to be on Globebusters tonight. Should be a good show. Probably going to be talking about Planet X. Obviously, we don't even think there are planets anymore. Not what we think of as planets. We think that they're probably just some lights up there that are, when people have tried zooming in on them and stuff, it's like they're not what they're telling us they are and showing us they are. Chris Kendall. No, don't think I've heard Chris Kendall. I don't know. There's so many people in this, isn't there? That you can't really keep up with them all. So you guys kind of hopeful, or you're a bit scared of what's going to happen then? Anyway, so if anyone wants to join for a bit, then let me know. But till then, I'll just talk in. I just thought I'd do a live thing because there's no one else really doing one at the moment. So probably a good chance to kind of go live when there isn't much going on. Because sometimes during weekends and stuff, and I think Eternal Padawan was saying that during weekends and things, there isn't a right lot of stuff going on, is there? I mean, maybe people are just busy at the weekends doing stuff. Because a lot of people, some people do work still, of course. And they want some time to themselves and do stuff, with their families and things. And that's fine, because they'll want, a time for a break. And there haven't been a right lot of interesting videos in the Flat Earth recently, if I'm being honest. So, which is kind of shame, really, because there could be some more interesting videos that come out, But it's like, it's going to be like repeating the same stuff, no curve, no rotation, I suppose we just got to try and expand on what we know. But the problem is that now we know it's not a globe, then where else can we go from here? Well, to me, it's about exploration. I suppose it's physical exploration, it's, I suppose, for some people it's more about the spiritual side of things, but to me it's like, there's got to be both, we've got to try and explore all aspects of things, to then try and get to some truth, whatever the truth may be. And for most of us in the last few months or last couple of years or so, we just realized that we're not clinging to a spinning ball flying through outer space. Yeah, we just keep talking, and yeah, I think hopefully if people can actually get a bit active maybe, and then that'd be good because that will help it go mainstream a lot quicker then, because there's so many videos out there for people to watch. It's like, do we really need to keep going over the same stuff? There's a Flat Earth video put out about just over 2 months ago, and it's already got about 1.2 million views. So yeah, this thing's just blowing up, and it seems like the Globe Defenders videos are actually getting more dislikes than the Flat Earth videos are getting now. I mean, when people are trying to defend it now, it seems like this desperate thing. I mean, there's a video, I haven't watched it yet, but apparently this guy tried to debunk the Flat Earth, and it was, I think it was Flat Earth Delusion Deconstructed or something like that. Let's see how many dislikes he's got. So 187 likes and 655 dislikes. Most Flat Earth videos do not get anywhere near that, ratio of dislikes. And it's kind of proof that we're doing something right, because why would the Globe Defenders videos be getting more dislikes than our videos are getting when most people are still asleep to the flat Earth? People need to kind of think about that, don't they? Yeah, it's it could be a spiritual awakening. Yeah. So we got Eternal Padawan. And you let the side down a bit today. Only handed out about 30 cubes and placed it load around. On the upside, I did give a cube to Kenneth Colley. Well, that's not too bad. At least you did your bit. That's 30 people who were, that seed's been planted. Even if, say 10 or 15 of those actually go and look at it, then that amount of people are aware of the possibility that the Earth could be flat. So that's, or not a globe, shall we say? So if more people could do that, then it's going to get out there really, really quickly. And I don't think it's going to be long. People are like, oh, it's not going to come out till like another 50 years. No, come on. Look how much it's reached in the last few years. It's only going to exponentially grow from now on. I think, I won't say the majority, but a vast amount of people are at least aware of the flat Earth, So it's like, when it comes out, it's not going to be a big shock, because it's like, oh, it was actually flat all along, So they were right, these people. There are going to be some people who are going to be a lot more, they're going to struggle to deal with it. Some people. May the flat Earth be with you, yeah. Well, like I was saying earlier, I marked up a £10. So yeah, I think people should maybe do that before they go out of circulation, because obviously they're going to plastic, aren't they? So I think it's going to be harder for some people to accept it than others. If you're into sci-fi and space and things like that, then you're going to really struggle to accept it, because it's like, because you probably fantasized about going to space and, being an astronaut or what have you. So it's going to be very hard for those people to get over it. Whereas if you were never really into space so much, then it won't be too hard. I mean, I liked the idea of space and stuff and space travel and things, and I thought, well, if only they could, go faster and reach these planets and stuff. But at the same time, it's like, well, what's the big deal? You haven't even discovered what's at the bottom of the ocean. Yeah, it's fantasy. That's right. It's yeah, you can't really watch so much movies anymore, or especially like Hollywood stuff, because it's when people watch Universal movies, it's always got that globe in it. It's like, why do they need to keep pushing a globe in your face? Like, it's the elite's icon, isn't it? It's because it's really what's keeping people from being awake in a way. Because if we're on a plane, then that means that we're not moving. But what's the proof that we are moving? How can you prove that we're moving at hundreds of thousands of miles per hour? It's like no one could even conceive of such speeds. It's just absolutely preposterous. But some people just, they believe in it, yet they don't even know what their own model is, like what they're claiming it to be. It's like, I never knew that we were supposed to be orbiting the sun at 66,600 miles per hour and then shooting through space at about 500,000 miles per hour or something, and going around the Great Attractor at 2.2 million miles per hour. It's just, yeah. You know what they say, because extraordinary claims need extraordinary evidence. The idea that, in the Big Bang and all that, and how, I used to buy into that sort of stuff, that we came from a Big Bang. I mean, how could I have ever believed in the Big Bang? How could I have ever believed it? Because it just doesn't make any sense that something would nothing would spontaneously just like explode like that. It just made so much sense to me, because I was like, well, they can tell because of, how much light has traveled here and all that. But when you stop to think about it, it's like, it's crazy, isn't it? It really is. Oh, people can believe in what they want, can't they? People can believe that they came from an ape, and then the ape came from something else, and and that life has no meaning. It's fine. Doesn't matter for me that people believe that, but I'm just going to keep pursuing what I think is truth. So anyway, I wanted to kind of talk about what Mick was saying the other day, and I said it before, that if God was real and God, because if God's, real, right, and people don't believe in God, and not believing in God has not made them any worse of a person, would really put that against them that they didn't, or it made them even a better person for not believing in, and and I still don't really know about the whole, because I'm aware that we're not an accident, of course, but whatever created us, I do not know. That's things that I want to find out. I don't want to settle on something that can't really be proven, because I mean, it's good to have beliefs and stuff, and but as long as it doesn't get too much where it's like you become so dogmatic in it, and you'll not change your beliefs for anything. And and some of the Globers will accuse us of being dogmatic, but we're open to all sorts of things. If it does turn out to be a globe, then that's good, because then we'll get back to space. We'll get these things back, won't we? But at the same time, I really doubt it's a globe. And if it is a globe, it's like there'd probably be relief and stuff, because it's like, if anything, you'd want it to be a globe, because then you can just go back to not, kind of trying to do flat Earth stuff. It's like, if people were to go back to the globe after researching flat Earth, they'd probably be relieved for going back to the globe. But I suppose I can get what some people are saying. Maybe some people, it's like they've been into it for so long and they don't want to be wrong now they've gotten into it. So I can understand that, but it's not that most of us don't want to really believe this. It's a quite, it's quite an evil thing if it's like, if it turns out that they've been lying, then it's quite evil, isn't it? But we've got to take responsibility, though, if for being lied to and stuff. We've got to. It's like, because they do put the truth out there, but people buy into it. They put the truth in movies and things and what have you, and then they'll lie to you on the TV and things. It's like they'll do it in a way where they don't have to deal with the bad karma of something because they're not doing anything wrong. It's really kind of our fault if we buy into it. So that's why I'm saying we've got to take responsibility, because because we got into it. We got we got fed the lies and we bought into it. I mean, so we've got to be the ones to help everyone to wake up. We can't just let someone else do it for us, because then now it's going to happen. So yeah, we've got to really push this out there and make it go mainstream as much as possible. Otherwise, we're wasting time. Well, yeah, we are talking about interesting things, but of course, there's other things we could be doing. It's not that we really want to be constantly talking about it. It's like, but if we have to do that in order to wake people up, then that's just what we got to do, isn't it? But at the same time, we'll explore different ideas and try and speculate and things, and it's interesting doing that. We've got to have a balance. Yeah. Anyway, so we got Ali B. This is the best no drama hangout on the net. Keep it up, Jamie. Well, thanks for that, but I'm not gonna say I'm the best no drama hangout on the net, but thanks anyway. I try to not have too much ego or anything like that, but I appreciate when people say nice things. And so, Jazakonda, have you any proof that we landed on the moon? So, when you look at the video footage of them supposedly on the moon, can you really prove that they were actually on the moon and not in some kind of studio pretending that they're on the moon? It's like yeah, how do you prove something that you haven't been to the moon? How can you prove that anyone has? I suppose then they'll say, oh, well, you can't prove that anyone's been to Mount Everest then. Well, apparently about a dozen people have landed on the moon, right? So yeah, apparently about a dozen people have landed on the moon. Apparently about 400 people have been into space. How many people do you think have seen or been on Mount Everest? Probably a lot more than that. So yeah, it's kind of a it's a kind of logical fallacy, really, because 400 people going into space versus millions of people saying that they've seen Mount Everest. Well, what am I going to believe more? Maybe I'll believe that 400 people have been into space, right? Because I mean, whatever. Because but you can see space. You can look up and you can see the stars and the space up in the sky. Well, how can you really know what's up there unless you've actually been up there? I mean, but again, that's I suppose about you've not been to Mount Everest, then well, like I said, millions of people have seen it. So, but if you say about 400 people have been up into space, then we're trusting that over the evidence against it. Like the flaws in what they're doing. Like, why would there be so many people pointing out flaws in what they're doing? If they were doing it, and even if they were going up into the moon, no one else has been up. It's like people should stop giving money to it, because guess what? We're never going to go to space. They'll keep going. If they'll be, oh well, we've been to the moon, let's go to Mars now. And guess what? They're not going to take us there. It's like, well, we've got to spend our money to get there, and then they'll try try and go further. Instead of thinking, well, I've been to the moon, we've got to try and get other people going to the moon now. No, instead they'd keep going further and screw everyone else. They're giving money to us so we can do it, and screw them because, we can just keep going further, Suppose there might be some people who think that, there might be like a secret space program going on, and what they're trying to do is do one and leave us behind or something. I don't know what some people think that might be going on, but anyway, on a plane, two came from a supernova far away to Padawan low height. Alright. Anyway, don't know how much longer I'm going to be doing this for. Peanuts Clark, how are you doing? A lot of people really don't care they are being fooled. That's the hardest obstacle of flat Earth. Yeah, that's it. People are like, oh, what does it matter? Why? What? And people are like, they're so brainwashed that they don't even care. What, like, that they're being fooled and stuff. It's a real shame, that, isn't it? But we just got to do whatever we can, because if we can get enough people caring about it, then we might be able to make a difference. Because I know it's like, I suppose it's not really their fault that they don't really care, that they don't see the bigger picture and all that, but they're kind of holding us back, because if only a few percent of people care, then they're going to be the last ones to really wake up. And it's like, they're probably the reason why, but I don't want to blame anyone or anything like that. So, because it's all down to the brainwashing and all that. And I don't really blame them, because we're the ones that have fallen for it in the first place. So we've only ourselves to blame, really. Because if we'd have been smarter in the first place, then these people wouldn't have been in power. So it's up to us to wise up and wake up to reality. Yeah, would be unusual having the sun in Glasgow. Yeah, I mean, because it's even further up from where I live. So yeah, apparently it's even colder up there. So they don't really get much like warm weather and things. Marcel Millinars, better go north, I think. Yeah, I think there's something going on at the north, whether it be, even if there isn't any more land to see, there could be hiding something there for sure, magnetic north. Well, actually, Mick was saying it's actually magnetic south, because, well, north repels north, so yeah, it would actually be south, but that's beside the point. But yeah, there just does seem something interesting about the north. It'd be easier to get there. Seems like everyone lives a bit closer to the north, and even if you live in the south, it's like, well, it'd be hard to get across Antarctica because of how vast it is. I think so. Eternal Padawan saying more land in 99% sure now. Seeing it on a hidden map. Well, I've seen it where it's like they're hiding land on like the North Pole or something. Like there's like the Four Rivers, but like on like the globes and stuff, it doesn't show anything up there apart from it has Greenland, and then at the North Pole it's just ocean. But I think some people saying it's a Mandela effect or something like that. They remembered there being land up there or something, like there was actual land on the North Pole or something. Well, not land, but maybe ice or something. Like it was frozen up there or something. The Bible is just a book. Well, who knows what the Bible was meant and all that. Whether it was whether it was actually true and there was good intentions behind it. I don't know. And I try not to kind of have too much of a stance because I don't want to offend anyone. But for me personally, it's kind of like I don't really need a book telling me what to do. And to me, that's kind of to me that would be dumbing people down, because if people were relying on a book to tell them what to do, then they'd never use their own instincts and their own intuition and things like that to know what's right and wrong and things like that. I'm saying, Jamie, chat away and you need to show open-mindedness. Yeah, I try to stay open-minded to things because, like I'll kind of express my opinions about things, but maybe I did offend somebody the other night, but, I suppose that was just kind of, sometimes I'll just kind of hold back from saying things that might offend people, but sometimes I'll just, just open my mouth and go off on one or something, but then it's like, I'm allowed to say what I want, if I don't agree with what someone thinks, then I'm allowed to voice my opinion on that. It shouldn't really matter whether people get offended at that, because, that's their own problem. So, Owen, you can't please everyone, but as long as no offence is meant, speak your mind, Jamie. Well, I don't mean to offend anyone. If you're intending to offend anyone or something, then that's not good, is it? If you're doing it purposely to try and cause a negative reaction, then that's just, it's scummy, isn't it? If it just happens to cause offence, then that's their problem, isn't it? Because you'd rather not censor yourself because someone can't take something. It's like, it's like if you're going to tell tell a joke, it's like you either don't say the joke because somebody might get offended, but like that would mean that a few people didn't get to hear the joke. So it's like depends how you look at it, really. And I think if people get offended too easily, then they need to grow a thicker skin and just to me that's what people should try and do is like if they find that they get offended really easily at jokes then or whatever someone says or comments on a religion say, then they need to just, like I said, grow a thicker skin. It is about understand it on both sides. Yeah, Jonathan, those three. It's self-image. Easily offended people have a more shallow self-image. Well, yeah, they probably, if people can't have a laugh at something, then they probably have insecurities themselves that they need to try and like get over, sort of thing. So, for instance, if somebody gets offended at a religion, then it's like if they were strong in their beliefs and what have you, then they wouldn't get offended. It's that simple. So we all have to we all got to respect each other's beliefs, but at the same time, don't feel like you need to censor yourself because you might have a belief that's contradicting what a lot of people's belief is. So anyway, if there's any globers out there who's watching this right now, anyone who believes in a globe, why can we not detect any motion and why can we not detect any curve? Those are the two things that completely destroy the heliocentric model of the universe. So the implications of that means that we did not come from a big bang. We did not evolve from apes, which means that our lives are not some random accident. So that's really the kind of implications of it. So it's not the shape of the Earth that matters. It's like, oh, well, the Earth could be a rectangle, it could be a cylinder, but it doesn't matter the shape. It doesn't matter the shape because it's the implications of it that matters. Because if they're lying about the shape, then it's like, well, why would they lie about the shape of the Earth? It's like, well, if you can prove that it's not a globe, then that means that it wasn't created by a Big Bang. Well, it's that simple. A Big Bang couldn't create a flat plane, could it? Because you'll get these globe believers who'll put out these memes and stuff. They'll be like, they'll show this picture of like the planets in the solar system, and one of them will be Earth, and it'll be a flat Earth or something. And it's like nobody is saying that it's a disk floating around in space. Nobody's saying that. No one's saying that at all. That whole notion I think was put out to just ridicule it. That because because the Flat Earth Society and stuff like that. I think it's deliberate to try and discredit the Flat Earth because it'll stop people from looking at the real Flat Earth. Because if they think it's this like disc that's floating through space, then they'll not take it seriously. But we're not saying that it has an edge or what have you, and that we're accelerating upward or anything like that. No one's saying that. And if they are, then they're either pushing nonsense or they're in some other trap. So anyway. So FE is not on YouTube. What do you mean? What? FE is not on YouTube. Anyone who thinks otherwise is deluded. What? So what's it talking about? John Watson, people have been driven away by idiots and other clowns. I think he's trying to get us to believe that FE doesn't even exist. What? How could that be possible? Total power when there is no opposite of tall, just the absence of height. So when people talk about the duality and stuff, is that you can't have one without the other. You can't have dark without light. But it's like, well, dark is the absence of light. I don't know. It's without the light you have darkness, and tall is it. Short. There is no duality, only oneness. Flat or still water. It's what we do on the flat Earth, that matters. The shape doesn't change, and it never has. It's flat. Yeah, because it's not like we've turned it into a flat Earth, but it's our perception of what it is that's mattering. It's what we perceive reality to be. Because if we perceive it as a spinning ball that's careering through space at crazy speeds, then we're just gonna think that that life doesn't have any meaning, and people are just gonna live from day to day without really kind of really kind of having any ambitions to do anything in life. And it's really a shame that people kind of do that. That they just have no ambitions, have no real kind of desires in life. Philosophy was always a twat's way of being clever. I think philosophy might be another trap, that people get get into, you know, when you look into like the New Age stuff, it's like kind of philosophy and religion and what have you mixed together. It's like, yeah, it's kind of, you know, some crazy stuff, like, you know, some of it, it's like, but there is some truth to it. It's like you can never have anything that's total lies, because there has to be some truth in it. So I would say even the Bible, you'll have some truth in it. So yeah, there's truth in everything. You've just got to pick it out. You know, you just got to chew the meat off and spit out the bones. That's what you got to do, unless you're a vegetarian, of course. But, you know, speaking of vegetarianism and veganism and all that, you know, a lot of people are doing that lately. Who knows whether it's done on purpose to, some are thinking it's some agenda that's being pushed, but I'm not so sure, really. I don't think there's an agenda behind it or anything like that. But who knows? Who knows how deep the rabbit hole goes? Because what's their end game here? Is there an end game, or is it just to keep in power? That's what their end game is. You know, that's not really an end game, because they're just hoping to stay in power for as long as they can. But if they can take total control over us, then maybe there isn't a way of them us to get out of it. But who knows? They've probably been doing this for a long time, so you'd think they'd be prepared with something, wouldn't you? You'd think they'd have some backup plan. Is it a rabbit? Stealthy 300. It's not an agenda, Jimmy. Just a simple lifestyle choice. Flat Earth, still water. I don't think philosophy is important, therefore it's not. Well, that's your beliefs, isn't it? Like you say, you know, about beliefs and things. Well, I don't know if you'll be after a link or not, but I'll send one to you if you want to join, and just let me know if you want to come on for a bit. But if you don't want to come on, that's all right. I'll just keep talking and responding to chat and whatever you. But yeah, I mean, anyway, so we got DJ Simon. How you doing? So Brain Antarctica. What the hell? So what do you guys think about this Antarctic Treaty then? Do you think it's another distraction? Because a lot of people are focusing on the south, and a few of you are focusing on the north a bit, you know, and are more kind of interested in what's going on at the north. But to me, it's like we should be, you know, doing full exploration, because it's like then we can find out a bit more about the layout and stuff, and what the exact layout of this realm is. You know, but it should make people question things, shouldn't it? If people are thinking, why is it being guarded? So it is logical to think that it might be a distraction, because then that means it's like, well, because when people get into this stuff and they think, why are they guarding Antarctica? And they think that they've cracked it, but what if that's just another distraction? Because if everyone went south, then you know, will it be harder to get through it? So you're more likely to get like stopped, I suppose, if you go to Antarctica. So it could just be a decoy that they've set up to stop us from going where we should be going. Jazaconda, if the Earth is flat, then there is measurable differences in the sun and moon size detectable from every single point, but it's not observable from any point. Well, people have been kind of debating over how the change in size and things like that, and does the sun and moon change in size or not? You know, what even is the sun and moon? You know, these are questions that need to be answered. I mean, because people assume that they're circling around the flat Earth, but you know, obviously it's a flat Earth. I mean, it's not a globe, but who knows if it's actually going in circles or whatever it's doing? We don't know, you know. But people have found anomalies, I think, you know, with time and date and things like that. It's not something I've really looked into too much, though. I do find it interesting about the equinoxes, though. I do find it a bit of a problem with the AE map, because the AE map is like, well, if the equinoxes are, you know, like where it's like 12 hours of sun everywhere, then how can that be if it's the AE map? Because it's like it's going to be different for everyone, isn't it? I don't know, because you know, some globers and some flat earthers have found problems with that map, and you know, obviously with that map it gets wider at the, you know, south, but on the globe it actually gets less wide. DJ Simon. So I'll have to just like see what that video's all about. Antarctica's midnight sun or something. So, well, the thing is, we don't even know what the sun is really. So, well, it's someone called Joe Leonard, and well, he's actually saying he doesn't know what the truth is. He says he doesn't know about geo/heliocentricity, but there's definitely something strange going on at Antarctica. You may have noticed Antarctica in the news lately. I don't believe everything in this Anon's story, but it's very interesting. Well, this was a few months ago or something, so it's probably like old news now or something. But well, I've heard about the supposed 24-hour sun, but well, apparently when they were filming it, it got cut and then they started again. So it's like, so how can you? So we've never been to Antarctica and actually seen this for ourselves. So again, that we know that Hollywood and NASA are really good at CGI and things. So well, actually, NASA isn't very good at CGI, but Hollywood's pretty darn good at CGI. People can get so deep into a film, they almost forget it's just a film because it's so convincing. The things that people can do with technology, So I don't believe anything like videos and things unless like millions and millions of people had said that they've actually seen it. Because obviously primary evidence is the best. Secondary evidence isn't very good because it's someone else's experience. Tertiary evidence is better than secondary evidence though, because that's many testimonies. It's still not quite as good as primary evidence, but it's definitely better than secondary evidence. But primary and tertiary evidence together is really good. I mean, that's not really evidence, but it's something that it's like someone else's videos or something. And I suppose you could say it's primary if you set up your own like rocket, like then it's primary. But if someone else is showing you footage of something, then it's secondary because it's their experience. Tertiary is if a few people are together, like showing you it. So it's like, yeah, if you've got your own experiences and someone else's experiences together, then it becomes something that's an objective truth then, doesn't it? And not just some subjective, kind of experience. So it's 34 watching right now. Yeah, so just keep sharing this out, guys. Just let's try and get it a record. Let's get it up to let's get it to 70. Let's do it. Let's get those likes up, or dislikes if you want to dislike this video. So I'm 33 now. 33 again. DJ Simon calls someone living in McMurdo Station, Antarctica, and asks them. So you haven't actually been there and seen it for yourself, though, have you? You haven't been to see Antarctica for yourself, have you? Or really know anyone who has? I mean, there aren't a lot of people who really. The only people who go to Antarctica really is the military and stuff like that. And can we really trust those? Can we really trust those people in the military and what have you? Not really. So what do you think about the shape of the Earth then, or something? I mean, because you going on about this 24-hour sun thing, or is it that you don't believe in the AE projection map or something, or is it that you don't believe in the flat Earth whatsoever? It's funny how people, like most of the people in flat Earth, they believe in this azimuthal equidistant projection, but it's not really been completely proven. But I suppose it's kind of an easy way for people to conceptualize the flat Earth and really kind of understand it, because without that, I think a lot of people wouldn't have grasped it because it would have not been able to understand how it sort of works. Because when people see, say, like the Pac-Man or whatever, the looping map, they're gonna think, what the hell's this? Like this is just crazy. Like and it's gonna put them off more than that. So even if it's true, as the more guy was saying, that he wouldn't have got into flat Earth if it weren't for the AE map. Well, it's not saying that I wouldn't have gotten into it, but I suppose a lot of people, they need a map to kind of cling on to, don't they? Like because it's like because they've gone from the globe to flat, so they need some kind of like something to kind of cling onto, because it's like they're going from one map to another. It's like well, we don't need maps because we don't know the exact layout of things until we've actually got like thousands, if not millions, of people independently going and mapping out the world. It'd be very hard to do that, but if you could, then it'd be easy to it'd be easier to know what the true layout is like. But anyway, thanks for the mod in there, Jonathan Daughtery. It's only so long until you get trolls in the house. The thing with a lot of these trolls, they're faceless. Now, I'm not saying that they need to show their face, but it's funny how a lot of these trolls don't show their face. This 5 Red Pears guy, Flat Earth debunked a time lapse of the 24-hour sun in Antarctica. Again, even if there were to be a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, does that disprove the flat Earth, or does it just disprove a particular model of flat Earth? So yeah, that 5 Red Pears guy, I've not really watched much of his stuff, but I think he talks a lot of rubbish, to be honest, as most of these globe defenders do. you know, because once you've come across all this content, it's like what there's these people be like, oh well, why can't you see such a thing? But when you get up to a certain height, you can see it. Well, because you're looking over swell, you know, you can't, because when you're looking over ocean, it's like over a certain amount of miles, it accumulates. It, you know, people need to understand that, don't they? And just because you see ships going over the horizon, it's not because of the curvature. And honestly, when I was looking into this was like kind of one of the things for me that kind of stumbled me a little bit. It's like, well, how come we can't, you know, see past the horizon? It's like, why is that the limit of our vision? It's like, if the Earth was, you know, flat, then well, I suppose that's what a lot of people think. Why can't we just see forever, you know? But you don't really stop and think about how like flat Earth and learn about how the perspective works and how things converge, because it appears like the sky is, you know, converging with the floor, you know. So flat Earth, still water. Has anyone we know ever been shot at? No. So anyway, let's see what's going on Twitter. Let's type in hashtag flat Earth. Let's see what is new on there. Anyway, so the age of demoralization has been here for 40 years. What do you mean? I don't know. So someone put a meme or something. Hang on. Alright, I've spelt the flat Earth wrong. Let's see what people put. I got a spaceship that see more valid proof than hashtag flat Earth will ever have. Who wants to live? This is some troll guy. He's got to be kidding me. How is that valid proof of anything? He's got to be kidding. JRC, let's see an example of this stupidity and cowardice. Be sure you can't produce it. Similar to how you can't produce single evidence. You can't produce evidence of hashtag flat Earth. Well, will you produce evidence of your globe? If you're going to claim it's a globe, then you should try and prove it. You know, we're looking at both sides, and you know, at least some of us are anyway. Then coming to a conclusion. Why do we need? So how are we supposed to prove a flat Earth? It's about disproving the globe, not proving it's flat. It's like, how can you prove it's flat when we don't know how big it is or anything like that? Or just prove the heliocentric model and what have you. Anyway, thanks for coming in for a bit, and Jonathan Dalsbury, and moderating. I'll give people another chance if they want to come join me for a bit. Apparently Sly Sparkane's live right now. And, well, apparently Hillbilly keeps getting into debates with him and stuff. But it's not a debate, is it, this flat Earth? You know, it's just, you know, you can't debate it, can you? It's just kind of logic, isn't it? It's common sense. Yeah, I'll let you on for a bit, Ali B. Just a minute. Alright, so yeah, I've sent you the link. So yeah, you can come on here for a bit. And Flat Earth Stillwater is asking for a link as well, so I'll send him one as well. Probably be on here for another hour or so. Just depends, really. Yeah, I do have it. So you've got the link now, Ali B. So and Mick, I've sent you the link as well. So anyway, just gonna keep looking, see what people have put on Twitter, because you know there's a lot of people talking about it on there.
How are you doing, Jamie?
Yeah, how are you doing?
Yeah, no problem.
Doing good.
Good, all good.
Is there anything that you want to talk about then?
Yeah. Well, I was good listening to you because you covered loads of subjects. I just wanted to, and I got sick of typing in the chat. I was actually sat outside having a relaxing on my Sunday.
Yeah, it's easier to kind of talk about it because it's like, because by the time you finish like typing, you'll move on to a different topic.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Yeah, exactly. But it was really interesting because you were covering quite a lot of subjects, and the chat was really good. I just wondered. I just had a question for you. If you were going to try and convince someone, for example, of that the Earth was flat, how would you personally approach them to do it? How would you approach it?
Oh, sure. I suppose it's just, I mean, if it's people that you know, you can just kind of like bring it up like kind of gradually, kind of, you can talk about how, you know, do you believe we've been to space and things like that? And you could...
I think Flat Earth has joined us. He needs to mute your channel, the watch page, Jamie's Hangout. No, just the Hangout. Not the Hangout. No, would you actually start with space then? Would you?
I don't know really. It just depends what. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how I'd go about it really. I mean, maybe that's not really the first thing you would really kind of talk about really. But I was talking to someone and kind of going on about, because I suppose you could talk about science and religion and stuff, and like
Yeah.
and like Big Bang versus like creation, and it'd be good to talk to people who believe in creation, because it's like you can say, well, if you believe in creation, then you don't believe in a Big Bang, then you don't believe in evolution, things like that. So that means that what the scientists are telling us about the universe is probably not true, whether they're intending on doing it or not. But that's beside the point. But it's like then you can start telling them, well, you know, because if there was a creator, then why did they create such a crazy universe? You know, I mean, that might be a way to kind of approach them about it, because it's like
lead them into it, kind of thing.
Yeah,
through, but not going too far off the actual factual and going into conspiracy theories as such. But lead them into, keep away from the, I get what you're saying. Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, so I was saying, well, because if you got creationists and they believe that it's created, then those might be better people to talk to about it, because they might be more open to different ideas and stuff, and maybe going into not necessarily flat Earth, but maybe geocentrism and that type of topic, because a lot of religious people do believe in geocentrism, but they don't believe in flat Earth. So those might be better people to talk to about it.
See, you definitely pay attention to trends or whatever.
I'm not saying I pay attention to it. It's just like those who say believe in the Bible or believe in the Quran, that you're these like diehard atheist types, like these nerdy kind of geeky people.
I've been on their stations. I've been on their hangouts a couple of times.
But I mean, you get these types of people. You can tell the type pretty much right away. Who are like so kind of. Kind of science minded, but they're not really science minded, because
it's all logic. They're actually logic. They're actually logic. They're actually logic. Yeah. No, they're actually logic based people. They're not actually. What they're actually doing is they're attacking your grammar, the way that you think, or the way that you're analysing. Rather, they're not really scientific. They're more into philosophy and logic, and is black or is white? They like discussing things like that, and then they like looking at the logic. So they're actually not attacking the theory of flat Earth. They're just attacking the logic behind why people would think about it.
So because they have like different ways of attacking the people who believe in it.
But they actually started that. As I say, I was on a chat there. There's a channel there, Great Debate Society or whatever, right? So I decided to have a look at the people. Most of the people that were on the channel, they have their own videos. So I decided to go and have a look, get an idea of what they're behind. And they actually, this whole, these group of people like Earth Discussions and the Great Debate Society and all these people that are, they also have their own dramas and they hate each other. But the thing that they have in common is they came from atheism in the late 90s or early 2000s. They're all old YouTubers, right? And they hated the fact that about creationism, because everybody was against Darwin. So they actually started that, and what they've done is they've ended up getting involved in the flat Earth. Because it's the biggest thing that they do. They've assumed that they've got rid of God, right? They've actually debunked God in their heads, right? And so now they've moved on to the flat Earth using. Now these guys are educated in argument, discussion, rhetoric. They know the whole lot, and that's why some people find it hard or intimidating to go on to these people. But the thing that drives them the most is the stupidity and the absurdity that there's people out there that actually believes in in flat Earth. That's it. Like
Right.
people like me, for example. But that's what they're driven by. They actually came out of this religious, anti-religious creationism when they try to bring it into the schools in the late 90s. They try to, I got taught all about religion when I was at secondary school. There was a thing called classical studies, right? I didn't know what that is. Only realised what it was now, but it was about old mythology. We got taught about Sikhism, Hinduism, Judaism. We it was only 2 hours a week. It was only one class a week, but we got taught that. And I think I never paid attention. I hated it. It was, our teacher was, I didn't really pay attention at school, so I actually hated it. But when I think back about it, we actually got taught, and these people get taught the same, so they know how to argue, discuss things. But that's their pedigree.
Yeah,
So
because what'll happen is they're always like going to be prepared with answers for everything.
Absolutely, and they'll attack your grammar, right? Even if you, that doesn't mean that. They'll attack that rather than what you're actually saying. They'll attack your grammar, how you say it, rather than your content.
They'll like argue with semantics and things like that.
Exactly, and that's all they do. But but that's where they came out of. They actually came out of that hatred for God and atheism, and the same with science. Science, you go and listen to any science lecture by Alan Guth or Brian Greene or Krauss or any of them. They'll always mention the fact through in some part of the lecture that God doesn't exist, or take the piss out of God, or say things like, therefore you don't really need a creator, ha ha ha, and the audience laughs. Now I don't mind that when they're doing that with adults, that's fine, but these people go and teach children as well, and we all know how easily children are, how they fall into traps like fashion and popularity and status, and they're quite, their brains are quite malleable. So and that's what they actually they play on. So but
yeah. So you said that these trolls and stuff have been around for a while then.
Yeah, they have. Many years. The YouTube hasn't just started. As I say, I
came around in 2005, didn't it? So
yeah, well, I remember being in London, and my friend, a good friend. Now he actually continued. Now he continued with computer, but he got into, and he told me about YouTube. I remember in the papers. About YouTube, and all I heard about it in the newspapers, it's just videos of people doing stupid things, and it got sort of slated. So I fell for that, and I never got into the internet till about maybe 6-7 years ago. I never really sort of started using it, and it was only because I found out you could download books, and I like reading books. I thought, oh my goodness, any book I like, PDF, off it goes. But the first time I seen about it, it was there was that free music. You could download music. I can't remember what the name
it was pretty bad for the music industry, weren't it? When
oh well, it wasn't actually. Statistics said, but it wasn't actually. Sales never dropped and stuff like that. That was a lie. I knew this.
So how was that a lie then?
Because people, right? Record collectors. If you think of someone, right? I've got friends that they'll buy the original. They don't want a fake copy. They don't want to download it. And there's more collectors. They would rather have the original.
Well, yeah, I've heard there's a resurge in the vinyl sales.
No, but not even vinyls. This was with CDs as well. Everything is still on the now. If you actually choose to go and look at the sales, you can get 10 years record industry sales, and you can actually look at the time that you can get free music all over the internet. But people want to go.
Well, yeah,
it's like a social thing, right? People want to go to the mall or the shop with their friends and go and flick through all. My friends used to do it every weekend when I was 17. Could never see the point of it. I done it once. I got bored because there was like thousands of LPs, but they actually used to flick through and collect. But I never got into that. So these people still exist, and they're still the biggest spenders, and they will. People like the original no matter what. There's a status thing. People do like originals. It was like a lie. The sales drop, and you can check that.
I think it's just.
I'll mute myself for a second, David. So.
No, Jamie. All right. Yeah, drop out there. Couldn't get to work properly.
How you doing again? You all right there?
I'm all right. Yeah, you?
I forgot your first name. Sorry.
Yeah, it's Mick.
Mick. That's right. Yep. How you doing?
I'm all right. You?
Yeah. Fine. All good. Yeah, all good.
So where you at, Ollie? Are you in Norway or something?
I'm in Denmark. No, I'm in Denmark at the moment.
All right.
Yeah, I'll actually, what I'll do is I'll put my camera on and you can have a look at if I can do that. Can I do that? Is it on? No, it's not changed for some reason. Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, I tried doing that. There we
go. Now it is. I've done it again. This is me here. There's I've just moved into a new place, man. I'm telling you, I'm so pleased with it. So, but yeah, that's my wee view. That's my wee house now. So
is it colder than Scotland then?
It's just the same weather, literally. It's just maybe a bit milder, but it's the same weather, but it's flat, so it's very windy. You know, the wind. It's Denmark's like Holland. It's as flat as a pancake.
So it makes it feel colder, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, the wind just blows right across us, kind of thing. So
yeah, because inland it's like, well, not necessarily inland, but like, because obviously even inland it can be flat as well. But if it, like, say, you know, where there's higher bits, it's the wind, it gets kind of broken, doesn't it?
Yep. So, but it's lovely there now. It's been sunny all day. I've actually been working. I took my son working today. I'm building a stone wall. So I thought he's a bit he's 10. He's 9-year-old. He's 10 this year, and a typical 9-year-old. He lasted about 2 hours, but he enjoyed it. You know, what he took in, it was fine. You know, I didn't expect too much because I was the same. You know,
was
but it was
2 hours to him's like 4 to us, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. He was. I said, you're kind of losing the will to do this now, aren't you? He was like, yeah. I said, well, that's okay. I says, you're only young. I says, but this is what it's like when you want to earn money. And I actually paid him. He worked for 2 hours. I gave him 20 quid.
I think you learn more when you're keen, though, don't you, you know, when you really want to know something, you'll do it all different now.
Yeah, but he listened because he learned. I left him because I was actually doing I was carrying the stones for him. I gave him a quick demonstration, told him to look at the wall, look at the pattern because I'd already built it. Gave him a few tips. I said, right, off you go then. Let's see. And I left him for 10 minutes. And I says, right. I says, come here. I says, stand back, look at it. And it was really good. There was only a couple of mistakes. And as I says, he was 9. Although he actually taught. I says, you don't really see the point. He says, no. He says, I don't.
I don't know. I think it's a sense of pride in your work. That's the best reward, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, and I was explaining, kind of explained that. I haven't explained that yet, but I was showing him how to see a pattern, and how you mix up the size of the stones and stuff like that. So,
I mean, that's what we're good at, isn't it? Fitting patterns together.
Yeah, well, exactly, and that's what I'm saying. We should be teaching little tricks like that. Grab your kid, and even though they might not understand at the time, because our brain, it remembers everything, and apparently it remembers everything in pictures.
Yeah, visual.
Apparently, right? That's what they say. That's what science says in psychology, and there's been loads of studies done on it. So I think everything. So basically, we have our whole life, everything. The minute we popped out, or maybe even when we were inside the womb, our brain's been filming this. But what happens is apparently that when we don't use it, the connection's lost, but it's still there. It always stays there forever and ever. Everything you see at this moment, anything you're looking at, is getting filmed and retained, which is quite fascinating.
Yeah,
bytes or petabytes inside our brain.
It's like with all this artificial stuff that we've learned. It's sometimes good to go back into the child of the mind of a child and try and look at it from their perspective, isn't it? Because they're fresh. Do you know what I mean?
Yep, and they're like little sponges. They're like little suck up everything.
Well, we're like big sponges, aren't we?
That's the kind of crucial time for them to be indoctrinated, isn't it?
Yeah, but
they have that window, don't they, where they can indoctrinate them.
Exactly.
If they don't indoctrinate them at that age, they'll never be indoctrinated.
Yeah, apparently it's 8-year-old. Sorry, Mick. On you go.
Sorry. I was just going to say the mind's stronger, isn't it? So it can always overcome it. It's like nature finds a way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So the indoctrination, that's where we are now. We've overcome it after all this time. So if we stop putting it into our kids, it's going to have a knock-on effect, isn't it?
Yeah, I think what happened, I was lucky. I was brought up in a tiny little village, and when it was summer, all our classes got done outside, if we were doing art, we'd go into the forest. The forest was right next to the school, and pick up leaves and go back and paint round them and stuff like that. So, and plus we had to, we'd get a chance to write stories and then stand up in class. The teacher would look at the stories and then pick who was it, and she would pick 3 or 4, and we had to stand up in class and read the story. That's all about public speaking. But then that was primary school. But when I went to secondary school, I was put in amongst 1,200 people, whereas the school that I went to originally, I was in a class of maybe, I don't know, 10 or something. Tiny village,
Yeah.
I missed out, and I didn't get the indoctrination. And the minute I went to secondary school, I switched off. My brother was a bit of a troublemaker when he was at school. So when I went there, every registration class, it was so funny. I was always first to be read because my name's Alan Beck, and it was always done in alphabetical order.
Yeah.
Right, so it was always Alan Beck. I was like, yep, here. And they would always, honestly, for 2 weeks when I first started secondary school, for 2 weeks, every class, they call, who's there kind of thing, right? Reporting kind of thing. The same question. It was always, are you Gordon Beck's brother? And it goes, yeah. And see, from that moment on, honestly, from that moment on, there was kind of in Danish it's called a modstand. I can't remember what it's in English, my goodness. I kind of, not an attitude, but I could feel a vibe against me already.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, exactly.
Right? And you can feel that when you're 12. When you're 12, you've still got, especially if you've just been brought up in it could be classes of Carl Steiner or to do with nature. We were given a chance to express ourselves through painting. I learned clay, clay work, painting, sewing, knitting, draw, everything, man. Paints, we worked with every single paint, acrylic, at primary school, from the age of 5 till 11. So I kind of realised now that maybe that's why I found it easier, and I switched off at 12. So it was like I didn't pay no attention at all till I left school. I left school early.
I didn't pay much attention at all at school, really much. I just kind of, I didn't really care too much for it, to be honest. I found it boring, so I just, because
I used to daydream, mate. I used to sit there with my hands in my head looking out the window.
Yeah, but
so did I in secondary.
Obviously,
Say you lucky, Ali, because I think you haven't been indoctrinated into your sexual role as much, like we have. Do you know what I mean? We separated, haven't we? So you've learned these things. Now I got put into home economics, like cookery, because I was a villain at school. So that was supposed to be a punishment, but I enjoyed it.
Oh, so hey, can I just a quick story, right? Home economics, right? Let me tell you. I chose that as my O level, right? This is funny. I chose it as my O level because the only reason was that my mother couldn't cook. God bless her, she only died a year and a half ago, and no disrespect, but was the only reason I got on. I loved it, right? I got a D in it, right? And the only reason I got a D in it, because when I went to do the written and the practical, right, in the written exam, it started talking about, I remember one of the first question was, what washing up powder do you use to wash a such and such? Do you use, and it gave it was, multiple choice. It was, is it biological? Is it, I was like, fuck this. And what I done was, I stopped and I just walked out, and I still got a D for my cooking. Because I thought, what the fuck has this got to do with cooking? I thought, all right, this is shit. I want to learn to cook, not how to wash my clothes. But when you think about it, it is about, if you think about it, if it's to do with food, right? But it's only if you go into work in the hotel trade. It's a pre-programming to know how to, maybe you don't become a chef, but you certainly could become a housemaid or whatever. You understand?
So
know what washing powder to use, how to change sheets and shit like that, man. And that's what that was.
Yeah, so it's just prepping you so that you. What they're trying to do is make it so that you're intelligent enough to hold down a job, but not intelligent enough to think critically.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Well, by nature, we all farmers, aren't we, by nature?
Yes.
It's got to be with nature. Do you know what I mean? So even your relationship with animals would be different. Like, you'd give them respect. Nothing would go to waste. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you see kids that they're all really, they look forward to going to the park and feeding the animals and stuff, but the adults don't really care about doing that sort of stuff.
Well, when you're a kid, you're always down the woods and digging holes up trees. It's like that's your normal nature.
There's actually a thing about that you just an off the subject, but to do with digging or whatever. Apparently, if you work with soil, you take in the minerals and your body actually absorbs minerals, all the minerals in the ground, if you work at it.
Yeah.
Just a little bite. That's what I was told that it kind of makes sense. If you get your hands dirty and there's minerals, and if your body needs it, it's the same as a plant. A plant will take the minerals out of the soil. So, I mean, logically thinking, we're made up of the same stuff. So maybe we do the same, when you work with soil and stuff.
Well, when I was a kid,
a lot of old gardeners out there.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, I went to detention centre and we had to work in the gardens. And the thing that made us do was put barrier cream on. So, when you indoctrinate into them things like the army, that's what basically was. It's like everything that they don't want you getting at, they're going to really make an effort to cover you. Do you know what I mean? They don't want you digging with your hands.
So what you're saying is,
what year was that, Mick? What year was that?
I've been
what year?
I've been 17-year-old. I was 14-year-old, so that'll have been 50 now. So.
Oh wow, man, that was rough in them days, eh?
Yeah, it was just like scum. It was exactly like scum. They didn't wear uniforms, swearing all the time. It's like the swearing I couldn't get over. I swore myself, but the amount of swearing, it was like over the top. That was from the screws all the time.
Yeah. I
mean, people were getting beat up.
You've seen that film Scum, then, haven't you?
Yeah, it was exactly like that. Exactly.
Yeah. I know my friend. Sorry, I've got a friend there, and he was 12. He actually went into the juvenile, but he's like 15 years younger than me, or 12 years younger than me, and it hasn't changed. It's still the same. When he went in, he actually made he actually made the point because he was a special kind of character. He decided the minute he went in there, he would get he would attack the biggest dude and get put in solitary, and he done it twice just to stay in solitary because he wanted to stay there.
Yeah,
because he was that paranoid. He was a young dude. Yeah. He was 17-year-old man, and he was in for a attempted murder.
So it's like they flip everything on you. It's like they make you think that like getting in nature and stuff is like a punishment, but Well,
I think it's to distract your mind, Jamie, because if you're out there, you're scared of going in there, and then when you're in there, you always think you're getting out here. So it's they try and just distract you from yourself all the time.
Yeah, well, I think that's I think that if you think about it even more, or maybe I've just thought of this. What about it could actually be just to fucking annoy the shite out of you? Actually psychologically, give you your freedom.
Well, you go
and then take it away every single day. But when you're going outside gardening and stuff like that, it's like it's like a different activity. Normally you're locked up in the grey building or you're selling, and you go out there and maybe unbeknownst to yourself, subconsciously, it's affecting you because you're sensing that freedom, or you're out there and then you come back in again, and it's just fucking with your brain.
Subconscious level, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Because these bastards know all about this shit. That could be that. That's like torture, isn't it? It's like imprisoning you, right? Making your cell and everything beyond your window, and then showing something within your reach, something beautiful, or something that reminds you what it's like to be free, right?
Is it to get you to realise that, though? It's like, is it nothing seems to be for no purpose, or is all this for that very same purpose, like an enlightenment?
Yeah.
You know, to realise where you are. Sorry.
Yeah, no. Like, do you think they are? Yeah, that is. But that is a kind of, that's if you get locked up or you do something stupid or whatever, a momentary lapse of reason, if you want to talk about, or say that, yeah. And that's all it is, a momentary lapse of reason, is then you end up, your whole world changes. It doesn't matter if it's 10 years or 6 months or 1 month or 1 week. It's whether you notice that, hey, by the way, that's nature saying, no, you're on the wrong path, buddy.
Yeah.
You're going to take that, because a lot of people, they go into jail, they get caught, and they come out again and they reoffend straight away because they get put back into the same environment. There's no aftercare.
I've got a mate.
And the thing is,
I've got a mate.
Sorry.
I'll just say that I've got a mate who's I knew him since a kid, and he's been in jail nearly all his life, and when he comes out, he's plotting straight away. He's like wants to be the man in there, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? He's just going back to where he came from, so there's nothing to fear. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's all part of why, you know, there's people like us that are aware of these things and see the absurdity or it's disgusting. Sorry, Jamie.
When you think about it, it's really pointless, you know, sending people to prison when they're just going to go reoffend again. It's like they put in prison for a few months just to reoffend. You know, it's like taxpayers' money going towards that. It's like they're paying for, like, when the, you know, it's like if they've been thieved or something, but they're paying for the. It's crazy, isn't it?
Well, they're trying to be something that they've seen on the telly, and they're using money to do it. And them two things is the main problem, as far as I can see: money and television.
Yeah, or the want of money.
Yeah, well, it's not really needed, is it, Ali? You know what I mean? We can just share skills and learn each other. That's all we need.
Well, no, I think it is. Because otherwise you wouldn't be able to buy. Say, it's a good thing about sharing the skills and stuff like that. But I think the money systems, it's a good way, right? As long as everybody's in agreement, right? Because what happens? How am I going to get? Say the only place I can get a television is. A thousand miles away, but wait a minute, 1,000 miles, or say a computer, whatever, right? But if it's 1,000 miles away, right? How am I going to make it worth that person that's selling that? You know, to talk. How would I go about actually getting that? Because it takes more than one person to make a television, so suddenly, you know, you owe a lot of people that favour. So I think it's not the money system, and it's not it's a very good agreement against people. It's good. It is an actual good way of transferring energy. But what's happened is they've for a £1 note, it costs about not even half a pence to print a £1 note, or say £100 actually, or a £50 note actually. Right? It costs, what you're going to say, not even half a pence, maybe a quarter of a pence to print that. Right? That's what it costs. So, but the problem is our government buys that £50 at face value, right? And we have to pay interest upon that, and that's why people don't actually like monies, because that's what's happening. And if you look at the Bank of England operating costs, right, is 750 million a year. Now I'm thinking, how much do they print? But do you know? Now I think I looked into this. I don't think you can actually find out how much money they actually print a year, meaning that, well, the thing is, if people started to realise that, you know, a government has a right to print its own money, and when you print your own money, there's no interest. The public gets a pound's worth of energy that you expend is a pound's worth of money.
Yeah, because what gives them the right to print their own money and not us, you know? Yeah,
but it's like, the way I look at it is if you've done away with money, you'd say, like, who would go to the trouble to drive go 1,000 miles to get a television? But the thing is, if there was no money, that's what would get rid of all the needless stuff, because then who would go to the trouble of going 1,000 miles to get a telly? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, but a television is good.
Start eliminate the pointless stuff. Like,
yeah, but this technology we have, is great. Where I'm talking to you, this is great. There's nothing wrong with this. It's just getting used in the wrong way, but there's nothing wrong with this. So therefore, we would have to have. Say again.
What if we've already got this within us? Is we through belief we're getting rid of it and getting unearthed to the floor? Maybe we've got all these capabilities that we actually came for.
Right. Telepathic.
Well, not so much telepathic. It's like I'm experiencing stuff all the time, right? And it's not like telepathic as such. It's what I think starts to manifest in front of us. Now, I've talked about stuff, and I've clipped a little video that the last hangout I was on, and it described everything I was talking about. Now, I keep coming across stuff like that, but as I talk about it, it just seems to manifest somehow, and it's fucking weird. It's getting extremely strange at the minute.
What is it getting more and more profound or something?
It's getting more and more detailed. Watch the video that I connected to the thing, and it's going on about all this stuff I'm talking about, more or less in detail. Now, I only got it the other day, and I've been talking about for ages. Then I watched the film last night, and it's the same thing. Okay, getting these things I just talked about, and then I seem to find a film that shows it exactly. It's fucking weird, like. And
that happens, right? Oh, sorry, that's called synchronicity.
Yeah, what's that then? What is this, through time or something? Because does time just
that's just when saying that it's basically shit happens.
Well, I'm experiencing it all the time.
Yep, I know. It's like right. Okay, imagine that you buy yourself a new car, right?
Yeah.
And suddenly you get in your new car. It's for example, not a regular car like a Golf or what, something that's an unusual car, right? And you buy that, you drive it about, you start noticing after about a week, there's more of them about than you realised because you hadn't been looking for it before, but suddenly you realise it's there now. I'm not belittling. By the way, I'm not belittling because I believe you get sent messages from nature, whether it be through actions by other people. So I'm not belittling what you're saying.
Oh no, I wouldn't take it like that. But, I know what I've experienced.
Well, I'm just explaining for everybody. No, I'm just explaining.
Well, that does explain things to me as well, Ali. You know. So
you think it relates to the whole "what goes around comes around"?
Yep. There's a system. There's definitely a system with karma. I've actually tested. I've tested it, and I know it. I know it does, and I know people that have done it. Lots and lots. I've had I'm 52-year-old. I've met, and I've had a kind of nomadic kind of life. I only got into the kids and the wife and the kids when I was my daughter. She's 13-year-old, right? So I was 39-year-old when I had my kids. So I had a kind of well-travelled life. Met very many interesting people. Have been homeless and been involved in other things or whatever. So I've met many different people. I've probably had more bosses than anybody's had in their whole life. Start a job one day, can't be bothered the next day. So I've had a bit of experience. So I know for a fact there's if it's called karma, it's karma. If it's called what goes around comes around, or in voodoo and stuff like that, that's more of a belief. And if you really want to influence a lot of people, you need one person. You need a lot of people to send some kind of energy. Plus, there must be the person that you want to attack through that has to believe. It has to receive it. And if their mind is not aware of, if they're not, they believe in that stuff, or their brain's wired to receive.
Yeah. So I think with the flat Earth and stuff. There you go.
Say again?
I'll just finish first.
No, that's fine. I'm finished.
I was just saying with the flat Earth, because obviously, because what we're trying to do is kind of has at least a little bit of influence, but it'll get to a point, won't it, where there's so much conscious awareness of it that it'll quickly spread to everyone else, like the 100 monkey effect.
Well, if it's righted, well, that's what truth's about. What if truth's recognised? It's either you can refuse to see it, but if it's displayed in front of you, it's always there, isn't it?
Yeah, because
the truth is everywhere. It just need to see it. That's all.
Yeah.
Yep. Recognise it as is.
Yeah. This is really interesting. While we're on, do you know the brain? Do you know the heart's actually like a brain as well, and it actually sends more messages to the brain in your head. It has neurons and all that, the same as the brain. So it's another brain. You've got to connect that.
Yeah, because a while ago I was thinking, why are people talking about thinking with the heart? I mean, we're always thinking with the brain, right?
It is a brain. It actually is a brain. No, we've never been told that before. It's got all the little networks the same as a normal brain.
It's just something that they kind of suppress that knowledge, don't they?
It's attacked, isn't it, with heart disease and all that? That's what's getting attacked.
Is that echoing, guys? No,
it's all right.
Got my headphones. I'm just going to the toilet. I just want to hear what you're saying.
So, what do you think about the whole 7 chakra thing? Then are they all their own little brain or something?
I believe in the 666 and there's like the 1, so that's you or I. Do you know? Because it's all symbolism. Then there's 2, so you can only move from one plane to the next. You can only move from your left to your right from the 1. Do you know what I mean? But there's 3 choices you can make. 2 after just like a quantum computer. I've looked into computer logic gates, and it's the same way they work. Because that has to come from the consciousness. When somebody builds a computer, it has to come from the consciousness. It has to be a point of reference all the time. So it's just nature's pattern that follows through and through.
Yeah, it's definitely
No, honestly, it seems to there's evidence to back it up. It's not something I just pull out of thin air. You know what I mean? Even a hard drive removing information off the disk, and it all seems to similar.
Well, whatever you put inside you becomes part of you, doesn't it? So.
Well, if you think of us like little bits of data, they get the data, then we decipher that data, and then we add it to the bigger data. That sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's lots of little ones of us all trying to figure things out.
Yeah, because like if you want to like say put a disk into a computer, you can.
Well, we programmed by the telly, then we sort the truth out from that.
You can install it to your hard drive. So that when we eat that food, we're installing that data into the hard drive. The thing with say like putting a CD in, you can install it into it, but you can still take it back out, and it's like everything is still in the CD.
Well, maybe it's just like dump files, isn't it? Like the ones that's wrong go to somewhere else, and all the ones that line up and are correct.
Well, like corrupted files and things like that.
Yeah, that sort of thing. It's the same. How a virus would spread, or antivirus. Just if you knew how one of them worked, you could still see the patterns in it.
Yeah, so we can see like the.
Or a psychiatrist, it'll be the same sort of things. These logic gates.
We can see the comparison, the resemblance of the body to like a computer.
Yeah, even if you look at the Matrix, it's the same thing, isn't it? It just keeps telling you the same thing over and over, sort of.
Yeah, I think we. I know it's an easy thing to do because it's, but I think we kind of keep relating ourselves to machines and stuff like that, and I think that's
But it's dangerous to kind of.
You know how we say,
that,
you know how we say, our brains. No, I'm just as guilty because I can understand it in that way. Using the metaphor of
but what I mean, Ali, is it's we the real thing, but it's like if we do a pharmaceutical drug, we take the idea from nature. You know what I mean? It's like
absolutely. No, I wasn't talking about that. I was just talking about. I must have missed that bit of the conversation, but that's right. Everything, even what we see, if you look at it, it's all synthetic because our beliefs are based on false. We should be free, right? We shouldn't be paying tax. We shouldn't be going to war with people. We shouldn't be voting for people that are representing us, running about. Well, so that's what I'm saying. So
we should be representing ourselves.
That way, it's synthetic. It's a synthetic reality. Even we live in it. Even though we're awake, we actually live in that synthetic kind of thing. And it's the same with the drugs and that. And I think that's what's knocking us off.
There's a simulation that we're living in. It's not.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
That's life.
Yeah, but that's a metaphor. It's a simulation, right?
Yeah. It's not a literal simulation like ones and zeros and all that. I'm not sure I believe in all that stuff.
Which wrongs and rights?
Nature's not like that. I don't believe nature's noughts and ones, because if you start believing that, then you start believing that physics explains reality, the real world, and it doesn't. It can do it to. Wait a minute, listen. It can do it to 15 to the minus 15 precision kind of thing. But wait a minute, there's a number called after that number. There's also another number and another number now. In the measurements that they make, that's not a big difference, like that. It's not really an error, a big error margin. But if you multiply it by the numbers that they talk about in light years and hundreds and thousands of light years, suddenly that's a big error margin. I do falls and gradients and stuff. I've got to know a wall's got to be level, or a driveway has got to be at a certain angle. It's got to be for every 1 meter, it's to be 1.5 centimeter fall because of water, right? Water running off it plus ice. It can never be more than I can't remember what it is. Otherwise, in Denmark and Sweden and in cold countries, you can only have it at a certain gradient. Otherwise, if it does ice over, the car will slide backwards, right?
Yeah, no current to take into account.
No, of course not. And I had a conversation with theodolites, right? Theodolites never. If there's an engineer there, I used to work as a chain boy. I work with lasers. I've worked with laser theodolites or levelers, and on building when I'm doing foundations for houses, for blocks of flats, for walls and everything, right? I've used these tools. I've also used the theodolite. I've been shown how to use a theodolite by an engineer, right? An engineer, surveyor. I've been shown and explained. I've held this stick. They used to use a staff. It's got the numbers, the meterage, and you set your height.
Yeah,
exactly. I've used them. I was the guy holding the staff. I actually got an engineer. My engineer used to go and hold the staff as well.
chain boy, innit?
That's what I was, you know, exactly. I done all this and I worked in Faz Lane when they were. This is where
Ali, do you know when you use all that equipment, what do you check it with at the end of the day? Your eye, don't you? You line it all up with your eyeball.
Well, you look. No, well, actually, what you do is is when you set the tripod up, you set the tripod up as level as you can kind of see, yeah, and then you set the theodolite on top of it, and it's got a bubble on top, and you've got 3 screws, 3 adjusters, height adjusters, and you fiddle about with that till the bubble goes in the middle. That means it's dead level. It's globally positioned as level, straight up. Yes, it is. That's what it's called, a global position, right? And because it means it's on the XYZ axis, right? Axis, right? So it's set dead level, man, and it looks straight ahead. It doesn't curve, and because of the lens, because as you know, when the horizon, when it comes, the top comes to the middle and the bottom, and that's the same as with the lens. So that that if as long as the lens is good, a Carl Zeiss lens is probably the best lens you can get because it's machined, the proper, optical angle or whatever.
Well, the Globers...
And that pinpoints, but what happens, you've got to remember that line, if you think of a circle, right, and draw a diameter right through it, right, all that light is going to, converge there. That's where your horizon is going to be. So that means that the curve has to be perfectly symmetrical, that it goes on. So all the light, so when you adjust that, that is exactly straight. It's a level line. You understand, because of the preciseness of it. Now, even theodolites have got an error margin, but not as much as a laser. The laser, I think it's 0.05 mil either way, and it reads it that way. Theodolite's more precise. It's only as good as the lens, but it never measures curvature. So if anybody ever tells you it's measuring curvature,
the Globers,
well, it doesn't. It's a fucking
to disprove an eye level horizon. That's what they try to do.
No, you can't. That's what I'm saying about the lens, and you've got to remember now your horizon. The horizon line
condition
is. I've got a thing about focus right now. I think the brain and the eye, they work together, because your eye, you said your heart actually sends more signals to your brain than your brain ever does. It's phenomenally way more, right? But what your eye is actually part of your brain. So it's actually is your brain, your eye, because it's attached by a stem. So it is a growth of your brain. So it's part of your brain, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but they connect to your pineal gland, don't they? Which is also an eye. That's got cones and rods in it.
So what's this got to do with the eye level horizon then?
Oh, well, your eye. Well, it's the optics. It's how you see. Right. So back to it. So it's about focus, right? So what I'm thinking is do you know how all the photographs, the sea where it meets at the horizon line is perfectly focused. Even when you look out into sea, you will see the actual horizon line. Everything up to that horizon line, right, will be perfectly focused, and then after that it gets fuzzy. So I'm thinking what the eye naturally does, and it's how they say there's a blockage with your eyesight. I think it's that Timmy Osmond. How you can't see because there's this. No, I think what's happening is your eye is naturally focusing as far as it can, right? And that line is, and your eye takes that as your end line, and it brings it up to the horizon. And that ship that you're seeing, that's the only reason is because it's out of focus. It doesn't bring that up to your horizon line. Your eye
you got to
level.
think about waves and things like that. Those can affect how much you're able to see, of course.
No, but even that, Jamie, they're always perfect. You even look at the camera photographs, right? The sea never goes out of focus. It's always clear. And then after the certain point at the horizon line, it goes out of focus, and then you get your mirages, right? So I'm thinking it is your eye, your brain, or whatever that is it's focusing on that, and actually that's because it's in focus, it brings that up to your horizon level. And that's the only reason, is because past that point you can't see, everything becomes out of focus, so it naturally just brings it up.
Well, I think it's to do with but we're in a bubble, aren't we? So it's like we in our own subjective bubble, and you notice how the sky seems to get lower. So past that point, everything seems to kind of get blurry, doesn't it?
But actually, how far do you see your horizon line looking over the land? Is see the clouds that you see? Are they, are they further away than the actual horizon line? So if you've seen your horizon line, that cloud that is disappearing at the same point as your horizon line with the water.
I'd say it's further away.
Yeah, well, exactly. So there you go. So why is that?
Yeah, because it was something that kind of screwed me up, because it was like, because I was into the flat Earth for a while, but I was like, why can't we see past the horizon? It's like, well, I mean, we can see buildings past it. So I was thinking about the atmosphere and everything, and the ground and sea and what have you all like meeting at one point. Is like, why can we see things past it then? Well, that's just due to
here's a point. Does the atmosphere get thicker past your horizon line to cause them buildings to fail?
Of course it
Is that
does, yeah.
but does it?
Isn't it? I think that's what it is.
Does it? That's what I'm saying. Does it? Does it? How does it?
I know what you're great. It'll do it a little bit to a certain point.
No, but it can't though, because it could though, right? I might be flawed here what I'm going to say, but I don't care. I've just thought of it now. But the thickness of a glass, right? If you have a window in front of you, right? No matter how thick it is, if it's clear all that way, which it is when it starts, does it always only go 3 miles then, and then it interferes? So that's like a glass. That's like there's an opaque glass after 3 miles.
Who's to say it is 3 miles? That's what they tell us. It's
3.1 it is.
No, that's if it was a globe. That's how far we'd see on a globe.
So I don't think you can see over a certain distance.
But even on flat, I mean, no, I don't mean you could. Video, I mean, in focus, Jamie, I'm talking about focus.
Have you seen
focus? Sorry.
When they zoomed in on an oil rig, and it was over 9 miles away, and you could see the horizon line behind the oil rig, and this was at a 1 foot altitude.
Yeah. Right, and was the horizon line in focus?
You could see it behind the oil rig.
Yeah, and it was in
sharp.
focus. That's what. Yeah, it was sharp. It was sharp. Yeah.
So.
You know, it is flat. Water doesn't curve, but if it was sharp, the line. That's what I'm talking about. Focus. The focus of a thing will naturally bring it up, because that's where the most light's coming from, and because your eye wants to take in the most light, and that's just a theory. And that's what I'm thinking of, is that because every photograph that you see, the thing in the background is not as sharp as that horizon line. It's this clear blue water or a clear beautiful picture, and then suddenly it stops and it goes out of focus, and then that's it. And I'm thinking that out of focusness, the minute it stops, that picture becomes out of focus. Whatever's last in focus, it will bring it to your centre eye line, to the horizon. And that's why ships, if you look at ships, they sink. They don't actually curve over the horizon, because you would see the back end. And I'm going to do a video about this with a tape measure, and I'm going to prove a point about that, why this is a load of shite that they say.
Well, you're going to get into like the nuts and bolts of it all and stuff.
Say again?
You're going to get into like the nuts and bolts of it all and stuff. Like,
well, no, I'm going to prove a point, is what I talked about. If a ship's got a mast, right, the top of the mast, right, people seem to keep measuring from the bottom, and that's wrong. Measure from the top, right? Because a tall thing that bends away for you, right, will get shorter than exactly.
That's what I was putting out the other night, Ollie. What I says, if you can get a ship on the horizon that's at 45 degrees, you should see the hull pointing downward, shouldn't you?
Well, never mind.
You wouldn't get it at 45 degrees. It'd be less than 1 degree, wouldn't it?
No, 45 on the horizon.
Right, on a mast, right? Think of a mast, guys, right? You've got a mast, and at the very, very top, you've got a cross member. At the top of it, and then you've got the other bit of the mast, but at the very top, you've got a cross member. Now, there's a certain, if you were looking at that square on, right, imagine you're looking at that square on, right, and you could measure the height of that, right? Now, if that tips away, because when it tips away, it'll be in a circle. If you were looking at it side on, it'll tip away in a circle. You know, if you tip that away, not in a straight line, but if you take the apex of that boat, imagine the very bottom of the boat, right below the mast, that's a straight line up, right? Now, when that tips away, the apex doesn't, not the apex, the actual centre point, the centre point, and then you've got the top of the mast, right? Now, when that tips away, it'll go away in a circle. If you were looking the side, it would draw a circle, right? So that means you've got 2 points of reference, the top of the mast and the little cross member the big yachts have got, or the big boats, right? You can measure that. Now, according to the laws of fucking optics and fucking physics or mathematics is, when that tips away, it will tip away in a downward curve away from you. So the distance between, right. So the distance between the very, very top of the mast, forget about the bottom of the boat or anything, the very, very top of the mast, the very, very top of the mast and the cross member would get, exactly, the distance would get shorter. Isn't that true? If you get a ruler in front of your hand and bend it down, the ruler will get shorter, the distance, it will get shorter away from you. So that is the way people have to start doing these boats over the horizon shit. Find out how far away the boat is.
Well, what I was saying also, you have to say ships are going over the curve a few miles away, or they can. If say they're seeing ships going over a curve a few miles away, then what they should do is a test up a few feet higher and bring the ship back into view, the whole thing, and then see if they can see that same drop in the horizon. They should be able to do that.
But that would work on both, so that's not proving anything, is it?
No, I'm on about as in, if you can see the bottom of the ship going up, hidden, and they say that's proven that the curvature, then they should be able to go up and see a drop in the horizon. You can't have it both ways.
But see, I was to play devil's advocate there with what Ali said, is that say something to do with atmospheric lensing, wouldn't it? So it's like back to square one, you know?
Yeah. I mean, if you were finding that it was not dropping as much as it should be, then that's proving that the globe model's not right.
Yeah. Ali, do you get atmospheric lensing as much on land as you do at ocean?
I've no idea. I've not actually looked into
that really.
I've not actually looked at that, but I know something. Sorry, go on.
Sorry, I've just thought of an experiment before that I think you could do on land. Now, if you had 3 poles, so you got your 3 points of reference over 3 mile, and you get 3 long lengths of bar, wood, straight edge or something. On the underside, you paint it a fluorescent pink or fluorescent green. Use your eye to eye them all up, so they're all on a spirit level. So each spirit level in a plumb weight's pointing to the ground. Use a zoom lens to line it up with instead of your eye and look along it. Now, if this is tilting down on the last one, there should be quite a degree of drop. You should see the pink. If I'm looking straight along and I'm saying nothing, then it should be straight.
Exactly. Even that tiny differential, you would see it.
You could even put a little cardboard. You could even put a little cardboard slit just in front of the bottom of the back one, because the bend of it would be that much, it wouldn't blank it out, and that would prove for once and for all that you'd see.
There should be a difference left to right as well. There should be a difference in every direction.
And if you've done that as well, and then you actually elevated a bar on top of it in the direction that it should go, you'd see the difference in the opposite direction.
If say you do it left to right, you could do it that way as well and see if there's any.
You just use one level, you eye it in, and then you use an 8-inch elevation for the next one, and then is it 32 or something for the last one, and then you'd see what that would look like going upwards compared to what it would going downwards or straight.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's loads. Yeah, I know, but see, the thing is, even if you done that, this is what I was talking about, the mentality of these people earlier on. Even if you done that, explained it to them, they wouldn't get it. But as I say, there's actually, I'm just thinking there's no point actually talking or discussing or trying to convince these people.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking of something maybe because you could have say 2 things that are quite tall that are quite a few miles apart, is that you somehow measure the distance from the bottom of them to each other and that from the top of them to each other. But that could be, there could be some error in that, right? There could, because if say you're trying to measure it, then how do you know you're measuring it completely straight, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, if everybody just sits back and thinks, right, okay, think of the length of Chicago. People, and I try to find out the actual length of the Chicago skyline, because you would, if there was curvature shown after 3 miles, I done this, so I decided to find out the length of and I worked out, the actual fall, because I do buildings, I worked in Canary Wharf when it was getting built, and I've worked in skyscrapers and stuff like that, maybe not actually building them or anything, but I used to read plans. I used to go into the architect's office and read plans and stuff like that, right? I was always interested in stuff like that, and I can never, ever, ever, and I will never, ever get my head around that if I build a building straight up, no matter how high it is, there's always a tolerance level, you've always got, because it naturally sways with the wind, so you have to allow, stress factors and, bringing stress factors into the building when you're building it. And that's mathematics, that's great, that's science, spot on, man. It's not theoretical, it's been fucking observed, tested, it's measured, they go by it, buildings don't fall down, there's your proof, I can touch a building. So, and about this way, so the thing is, because I build buildings when I have built buildings before, is I can't imagine that if I build a building up 100 feet, right, and then I get a contract to drive off 100 miles, right, I'm building that building straight up, but it's at an angle away from the building that I just finished the week before or whatever, and that's what I can't, and it just doesn't work.
Well, shouldn't they have to build them slightly further apart at the top due to the centre of gravity and all that?
Exactly, you've got it, and this is what it is when they say, oh, it's only a 1 degree distance over 70 miles, but remember, that's from your foot, right?
Yeah.
And that's in a straight line. Forgetting the hump that's in between that 70 miles, right, is driving it through there. Then what you're doing is you're drawing a straight line right to the centre of the earth off that degree, and then you've also got to build a building up that way as well, right, perpendicular to the straight up line from the radius at 90 degrees up. So you will see a separation or a fall away. They say it's only 1 degree, but I'll tell you what, you go 60 miles away and you build a building 1 degree off centre at the bottom, and you build a building 200 feet or 300. Have a look at the highest buildings in the world, man, how many meters they are, and imagine the error in off a vertical that building would have to be, right, compared to the building that you built, like 500 miles away or 100 miles away. Right? It's impossible. We're not living in a ball. We never will.
Well, that bridge, that 102-mile long bridge, I mean, that'd have to take into account loads of curve, wouldn't it?
It'd be back round on itself, wouldn't it? It'd be rolling along the ground if it was that much curve.
Yeah, well, exactly, but people are doing this as actual tradesmen. This is why when I heard about the first time I stumbled across the flat earth, I seen it and I goes, and my first thought is, all right, because I'd been I understood who the New World Order is. I have known for many, many years, even before I got into the internet. But I was like, oh God, what have they been up to now? Right? And I looked at it, I thought, oh, for fuck's sake, man, obviously it's flat. I was like, they fuckers, and I just had a good laugh about it. I thought, you motherfuckers, man, how a nice one. I thought, I gave them kudos, man. And then I looked into it because I have, I've imagined, sitting on a fucking photon traveling at the speed of light, guys. I've done that, and I've thought about space travel. I've done that. I've done this since I was a child, man. And then this comes around, I think, but I didn't get upset. I just thought, wow, fuckers.
Wasn't that the strangest feeling, though, the minute you realised, like, fuck, it's been there right in front of my eyes all the fucking time and I haven't seen it until now. Like, it was a strange feeling, that.
Yeah, but it was, it was like, I've had things, religious people call them epiphanies, but I call them moments of realisation, right? When you go, fuck, it can be on a job, or that moment of realisation. And as I say, the religious people call it epiphanies. But when I had that, I kind of, as I say, I laughed. I just pissed myself laughing, and I just went. I just went straight out and started telling people. My mate, I said, "Hey, by the way, guys, the world's flat." Like, what do you mean? And the first person I told me after I said, because of this, I can't remember, and he goes, "Oh, you're right. Fucking hell, man." And then he just went about, his Facebook was full of it, and he didn't even see a video. He took my word for it, and then he watched videos, and then he was like, fucking hell, because he was already, he just wasn't surprised, and he wasn't a conspiracy theory. He was, he was anti-government, but didn't do the YouTube conspiracy theory. Never done conspiracy theories or whatever. But when I said it and I told him, I think it was my perspective. I showed him a 2-minute video.
Yeah, I came across this, and I weren't too surprised with it, because it's like, well, it's pretty obvious when you think about it.
But as soon as it happened to me, as like I was from this side of the telly and went into the fucking telly, it became more fucking fantasy on the real side. You know what I mean?
A lot of people have been traumatized by it, and I can kind of understand that because
they're going through turmoil and stuff, you know.
Yeah, it fucked
Oh
me
my
up. Like,
goodness,
it really fucked me up, like, for a little while.
oh, like in what way was that?
I
then,
had to
Mick?
take us away. I thought it was Jesus. Honestly, I did. I was fucking off it. I understood it all, like, accept Jesus into your heart. I understood. It was just a state of consciousness, and it all hit us at once. And it was fucking weird. I know other people now have had the same thing. Like Lord Stephen Christ, he actually still thinks he is him. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think I'm not claiming that is.
Sorry.
I'm not claiming that is a stooge or something, but I don't know. I think that,
Jesus with a YouTube channel threatening to cut
did
people's
you
heads off with a
see?
sword.
That was
Did you
funny.
see?
That's
yeah,
funny.
did-
That was funny, Mick.
Yeah.
By the way,
Did-
that was
yeah,
funny.
did-
Sorry.
yeah,
I mean, that was
yeah, did-
funny as fuck. By the way, you thought
Yeah.
you were Jesus Christ. Sorry, guys.
yeah,
That was brilliant.
did-
Hold on, let's
Yeah.
say, they put us in the back of the police van race to the arrested us. Put the hand. I was being Jesus, so I don't know why that fucking arrest us, but they put the handcuffs on us and they
Yeah.
pressed it in that hard with all these tattoos on and that. And it was, I felt no fucking pain. I was in the back, you know, like put me hands together in the back of the fucking police van. But once the space cake wore off, I was all right. Like,
Did you see the video where
did
like Lord Stephen Christ was like saying he'd been in jail for 33 months?
Oh, I haven't. No.
I mean, what happens when he hits his finger? Does he shout his own name out or something?
I don't know.
So you think they're becoming vegan, Jamie?
Well, I was looking into it last year, but I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's like people are saying that it's because someone was saying about how veganism's not natural because people are getting their food from all over the world and what have you,
Well,
instead of
here's one
eating
for you then.
local like raw meat or something.
Well, if you eat a chicken, right, you couldn't eat it raw because it would kill
You are
you.
what you eat, so you become a chicken.
No, but you couldn't eat one raw, so how's that natural? Because fire isn't natural. We weren't born with a box of matches.
Well, you have to kill it first. That's the thing.
Yeah,
I
but you
suppose.
couldn't eat it because it'd poison you, wouldn't it? It's got parasites in it, same as a pig. Pork, you can't eat pork.
Yeah.
And there's another
Yeah,
thing.
but any raw red meat apparently is not to be eaten raw.
Well, where do you think the white meat comes from? Because there's nothing in nature that's
Yes,
white. That
white
chicken you're eating in Turkey, it's not supposed to be white. It's supposed to be gamey, like a brownie colour. That's what wild turkey looks like. That's artificial. That's not normal.
Yeah.
It's like game, isn't it? Chicken, it should be game.
Well, yeah, it's this
white.
guy I was on about the other day called Gattis is called, and don't know if you've ever seen his channel, but he thinks veganism's a depopulation agenda.
Well, don't we think meat eating is?
Oh, well, wait a minute. I have to say, I've got to stick up for meat eaters, right? I think the problem with meat is I think we shouldn't eat it in big chunks. I don't eat meat. I've nothing against anybody that eats meat or whatever. The thing about the veganism is a depopulation agenda. I'm with Mick. First of all, I always make that, before fire was invented, so we didn't live before fire invented because we would have never been able to eat anything. Obviously, we were around before fire was invented. So we were hunter-gatherers, as in hunting for, animals. Go to I don't want to go biblical or anything like that because I'm not a religious person, so it'd be false and using that as an example. So, but even through science, if you look into the flora or gut, how our gut works or whatever, if you actually read into it, you actually realise that meat does rot in our stomach, or our stomach's not
Well, I heard
designed.
about it. I heard about it fermenting inside your body, and I've heard stuff about how your body's not meant to eat meat because it's like, it's not meant to.
Not
you aren't meant to
designed.
put it in your body because
It's
it's
not
like
designed.
because of the gut or something. How it's like because of the carnivores have a different like intestine to us and stuff like that.
Yeah, but it's like if you look into what flora, and I mean, I haven't looked totally into it, but if someone wants to look about flora in the stomach, what it does, bacteria, and if I do gardening and stuff like that, so I understand bacteria and soil, right? And it's the same thing, kind of. It's the same job. It breaks down things, and when it works, breaking down, it creates heat. As natural, for some reason, when a bee flaps its wings, it's using energy. Energy has to be everything when it moves, whatever. So I think and if we hard all our lives too hard, we get fucked when we're older, right? So we should, if we had a life of just relaxing and chilling out and doing a bit of work now and again, but not putting tense in our bodies to do it, we'd be okay. When we think of ourselves, well, the most important thing is the little colony or whatever's inside our stomach. We want to make life as easy as possible for them because, they're producing the energy for us. And if it takes a lot of work for them to break down meat, more energy than they're actually producing or giving to you. Logically,
that's true, because people chew on meat and stuff, and their bodies have to. So I suppose less is more in that way. It's like it's more about quality over quantity, isn't it?
Ali, if you were going to eat meat, I would suggest you would eat burgers, but homemade, organic, mince it properly, and eat burgers because it breaks up a lot easier. So there's less, even though I'm not, I believe meat's not beneficial as it's been sold as. But I'm just saying, if you're going to eat meat, make sure it's fucking meat and mince it down. Maybe just eat spaghetti bodies and stuff that's easily digestible. The
thing is, I've never really been into like chewing on really hard meat. I just don't like it. It's not something for me, really. So that may be a good thing. At least I do one good thing that I don't eat loads of hard meats, like really chewy steak and what have you.
I think I'd just say if anybody's going to eat meat, they should kill it themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they'd soon stop doing it then, wouldn't they?
Yeah, well, it's that they're eating it dead. So
why not? Yeah. Actually, well, there's places in Denmark where people are bothered about how the animals are treated or whatever, right? There's a place in Denmark, it's called they've got a farm, not advertised place. I'm not a meat, I'm not going to fucking do that. But what they do is to cure your conscience, or people don't have conscience. So, but what they do is they have a farm there. You can go anytime you like. You order the meat. You go up and you see the living conditions. And my friend, he's a member of it. He pays so much a year, and they go up and they have vegetarians there, but they have a barbecue and they eat, they socialise, they see the place it's run, and all the animals live outside. They get organic food, everything they get. The owners, it's not a big, huge concern. I think they've got 70 members. Friends, it's only 70 members. The animals are treated good or whatever, but if you go to eat meat, make sure you can source it. The animals are getting treated as they can, and that's it.
Alex in chat is saying beef is much harder to digest than chicken.
Well, have you ever smelled?
I don't know.
This is what's strange since I stopped eating it, because I stopped eating bread as well, because yeast isn't a normal thing, I don't think. So once I stopped eating that, it sounds weird, but my shit doesn't stink. Not like in the same way. That's dead animal festering.
That's right. But
when your stools, because if there's a lot of fat in them, they'll float on top because they're less dense. I mean,
we are so going to get trolled for this conversation, by the way, guys.
I've talked about it before, though. So
you should say the fat, because when you a foul manual, when you go in a foul manual, there's just white fat inside of it. Sometimes have you ever seen that, Ali?
That's true.
Yeah, it's just white, pure white fat.
Yeah, I've been doing that. I've worked in stores, man. It's because I was brought up in the countryside, so smells don't bother me.
Yeah,
probably why I'm not so bad at cooking.
No, but it's like,
I can differentiate smells.
Do you know when they say there's the great stink of London, and we imagine this horrible smell? Well, that's because of all the meat, isn't it? If it was, you'd just be using it on your garden. Normally, you wouldn't be flushing it away, I don't think.
Oh, yeah, I saw this video of some guy who lives off the grid, and when he goes to the toilet, he has this toilet where it's like he'll like sort of, because he doesn't have a flush on it. So what he does is he puts leaves down on top of it to push it down or something.
Yeah, well, it'll break down as it goes down, and then you just move on to another spot. But I would imagine if you're not eating meat takes a long time to digest. So if it's not fully digested when you shit it out, it's going to take a long time to break down.
The feces, it's actually going straight back into nature, isn't it?
Yeah, but if it's only vegetable matter, it'll break down a lot quicker. America, so it's not going to be like dangerous. With it's dead animals in this. Everything you get off a festering body, you're going to catch off your own feces if that's what you eat.
Yeah, of course.
That's brutal. I think this is too brutal for people, Mick.
They need to hear this shit.
No, I think
you're like the vegan troll person or something.
I'm not joking. If somebody come up to me with a truck full of shit or a truck full of gold, and I know what one was the more important one, the shit, isn't it? Because that's what you'd be eating your food out of, not the fucking one of gold.
It's true.
There's only intrinsic value, isn't there, really? You know what I mean? And relationship. They're the only real thing.
As in what way? What do you mean?
Like the things that you need, out of need. Like you need another person, you need a roof over your head, you need food. After that, everything else is just made up, isn't it?
Yeah, but do we really need anybody else? So this is the right, because I'll go. I'm quite happy. Oh well, actually, we do.
To a certain point, we do, don't we? To a certain.
Yeah, that's it. I'm very happy with my own company. I'm quite happy who I am, and I don't care. Well, I do. The only people that I care about what think about people that know me, and if they get me wrong, that's when I get upset. But that's only being one company. I've come to my, when I'm my death, for example, and I think this is what people should maybe think about if anybody's had a near-death experience or whatever, right? Because what happens, and this has been documented, and I've experienced it, so I leave it back to myself, or I thought I was nearly dead, right? Is you do have that, quick flash of your life. What happens is it just ends up thinking who you are leaving behind at that time that you feel as if you're dying, or you have the thing about the life that you've led up to now. It's really about who you're leaving behind, and if you have any regrets regarding the people or them people. And I think what you should basically do, just to clear the slate, just to take a safety, is be as good as you can. Go about and be respectful. Don't be soft. Trust yourself. Don't feel guilty or anything like that. But when it comes to that, you have no regrets, and I think that's what it's all about, is have regrets to give you a good start point to start looking into other stuff. And then I think people will be a more caring towards other people and maybe change their attitude and have all this, get rid of all this madness that's going on at the moment. Because this is mad, isn't it? You must have, Mick, this is a mad subject to get in, of all the subjects to get into. This is like the biggest that's taken over.
I couldn't imagine madness like this. Do you know what I mean? Before it happened.
Yeah, because a lot of people think that the stuff that David Icke comes out with is probably crazy, but that's nothing compared to this sort of stuff, is it?
What reality? Yeah, no.
Because it's all rabbit holes and things that people get into. It's just, it doesn't really lead them anywhere. It just leads them probably into a trap because it doesn't allow them to see the bigger picture of what's going on. That's the thing.
Well, this is what it's learned me, is to see the truth and to speak it, whether anybody wants to hear it or not. Just show them it, and then if they want to take any notice, it's up to them. But I've got to see it the way I speak the truth the way I see it, and that's it. It's done. At least it's out there. They've heard it. Do you know what I mean? It's rubbed against them. If they don't see it, then they don't. But
you've actually fulfilled your what you feel you have to do, and that's all you can do. It's like there's a big question. Oh, what can we do? What can we do? I turn around and say, well, just tell one person you've done it. That's it. Yeah. Just tell one person about it, and that's all you can do, and just go about your life. But you can change. I think people have to start. Do you know how we've got there's lines on the internet and all this kind of stuff, and I think that's a mistake. It's good to have. I know you're a good person, Jamie, and you just go, Mick. I feel you're coming from the right place. I could imagine meeting up with you and talking to you, kind of thing. I believe you are who you are, because you are. I believe that, but I think you should do what they do. They always start with the low. Right, this is Agenda 21 and stuff like that, but it's to really convince people you have to do on a local scale. What you start doing, never mind talking about flat earth or stuff like that, is go to your neighbour, offer them something that you've got to do. Oh, my name's whatever, and I'm going down to the shops. Do you want me to get you anything or anything like that? And stop me, because most places, we live in a world of suspicion. You know, when you actually offer, I guarantee, Mick, I've felt it. You know, I've had that. Oh, what's he after? Kind of thing. I lived in London. You know, you try to be nice to someone, the last, you know, you can see it on their faces, man.
Yeah, because people expect people to just be like, if they're being nice, it's like it's something to be suspicious about.
Well, I think it's everybody's comparing themselves to somebody else instead of just looking at themselves. It's like, oh, at least I'm not as bad as him, or it's not as good as them, or it's always comparison. Just look at yourself for what you really are. And,
yeah, well, people in the mentality of like competing against one another.
Yeah,
I suppose a bit of healthy competition for like just to kind of as like something that's a reference, like as in because
there's no such thing as healthy competition, Jamie.
Self to reference, it's like, well, you know, if we say we're playing against somebody, then and they're better than us, then it's like we're better than me, whatever. It'll say like then it's like you know once you get to that level, you know you've gotten better. You know, it's like if you're always playing against someone that's the same level, you can never really get better because you'll never push yourself. You've always got to try and.
Well, that's you then, isn't it? It's not the fact that you have to compete.
Guys, listen, guys.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I'm going to have to disappear for 20 minutes. They're still going in 20 minutes.
I don't know how much longer I'm going to be on here for, to be honest. So because I'll probably have to go and get some food. I'll probably have to go and get some food in a bit. So.
Well, I say thanks very much. I'm just going to say if I don't come back when it's finished, but say guys, thanks very much for the chat. Mick, really good talking to you, Jamie. Keep it up, buddy. It's honestly, it's great.
You two keep doing your thing.
I'll watch, but I'm just doing what and kind of thing. But thanks for it's always good to come on and chat. And I hope to speak to you again.
Likewise. I mean, you've already done a lot for me. I've listened to you a lot, so you've already done a lot for us.
Right back at you as well. That's why I like our last conversation. Very interesting. I think we've got a lot in common and a same outlook on things actually. So you as well, Jamie. I love your question. I love the way that you embrace everything, you know, embrace the concave, ask questions like normal questions, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I had that Ireland guy on, didn't I? Yeah, because, you know, it's like...
He's okay, right?
Yeah.
But I've got to say about satellites, when we get the subject of satellites, he's worked with satellites, and I think people are missing out on a thing there because it's fake, there's...
Well, I've heard that they're not needed, that's the thing I've heard that needed.
I mean, they don't exist. The point is, if you realise where they actually came from, where they actually, what do you call it, why they came into being in the first place, then you'll realise, well, maybe they are up there.
Well, I've heard 95% is ground-based, though.
I've got a satellite this year that is transmitted from a ground-based thing, but the thing is, you know, these things were put up by the military, right? They're going around in a certain way that does not use spherical geometry, right? I've read into this, they're using as if it's satellites are rotating around a flat plane, right? And people won't look into it, but if they looked into it, they would go, oh, geometry that they don't use the degradation or orbital Kepler's laws and stuff like that, right? You have to look into this, right? And there's a lot of proof that when I read the satellites, I believe they're there, but I still know the Earth is flat. I still know it's flat, but I also have, you know, I know satellites exist, but they're up in a medium that about simple as, because space is not a vacuum, it's a low pressure system. Science will tell you that. We've changed it, we were taught wrong.
I think it's low pressure. I think it's under tension.
Sorry?
I think it's some sort of tension alley, and it's water after that, some clear fucking water. That's the way I would
think. Well, you could be right there actually. Yep, you could about it being some kind of watery substance.
Because they talk about the firmament, you know, and separating the waters and stuff.
Yeah, but they could be just
when you talk about satellites
in water, couldn't they? In like a balloon.
Yeah, but when they talk about satellites going around, right? They talk about it going. They actually sail. It's fluid. They use fluid dynamics, and it's a very interesting subject. You know, I need to go, but as I say, it's a very interesting subject, and I think we're missing a point there.
Fluid dynamics. It doesn't wash with me.
Yeah, nice one. All right, guys, thanks very much.
Might see you later.
Yeah, all the best and all.
That was a bit of a delayed
No,
response.
no, that was spot on. I liked it. Take it easy, guy.
See, Ali.
Yeah, you know, I was going on about, because there would be a way to find out if there's any curvature. If you was to say, like, find out the distance between 2 points, say like two landmarks, and you went in
Yeah.
a straight line, so they'd have to be quite a few miles apart, probably, just for like margin of error, whatever. But so
Well, if there was,
if you're going to say like you say 2 points one to the other, so from I don't know if you say you know I don't know one city to another cities, let's say, or something like I don't know, let's just say the Empire State Building to the something else, I don't know, and
I don't think it's high enough.
what you do is you'd measure from the bottom to another, like, so you find out so you get two landmarks, so you go from you keep at that same altitude, and you so you could get in, like, I don't know, well, you could just, I don't know what you'd do really, to be honest, but you could fly over somewhere and then try and get the distance, and then you go higher from those 2 points, find if it's gotten wider, because you should be able to do that.
I know how to do it.
Go on.
I'll give you a stick. I'll get a stick. We'll go 500 mile apart and we'll stick them in the ground and I'll tell you how that works. That'll prove it one way
How
or
does
another.
that work?
Well, proved it for them. It'll prove it for us.
How does that work though? So
You just bend yours till it's got no shadow on it, and I'll bend mine till it has no shadow on it. Prove that it's not.
yeah, I suppose that could be a test, but what about for curvature? And what about as in like?
Yeah, but the thing is, we couldn't. Even if we did test it, we couldn't go and validate it, could we? So
Because it's
what we do now, isn't it? Really.
You was to measure a distance that's like 500 miles apart, let's just say it was possible from one thing to another, one landmark to another.
We see the weather balloon.
But that'd be from low down. But if you went a mile higher, they'd be like, they'd be a lot further apart, wouldn't they?
Yeah, so say you got a weather balloon and took it as high as it could, and you had some little device that could measure the distance to another device. You put one in the balloon, click it over, that one should be a lot further apart.
But you'd have to make sure it's perfectly in line with it, wouldn't you? So
if you had a camera pointing down the line with some sort of thing when it was plugged.
If you directly over it, and you can
do
it that way.
telescopic sight.
It's something that costs quite a lot of money to do, because
I know you're proving it to somebody else who doesn't believe it. It seems to be costing money to just chuck away for somebody else not to believe it.
Yeah, if you could do something really big though, it might.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just thinking how would you do it, because 500 miles apart, like trying.
Well, I've gone the other way, Jimmy. I've thought of something else. So what I've done is I bought some gold foil blanket, and I'm going to make my own satellites. And I bought a big weather balloon, and I'm going to project. I've got a projector. I'm going to project the moon onto it, and I'm going to put it up on YouTube and just see how many chats I get in the title going, "Wow, isn't it amazing?" And then I'll go over and burst it, kick the satellite with my foot, and see what they say then.
yeah. It was funny because did you see that thing that Karen B did, and she like made this like fake thing or something, and some of the flat earthers were buying it that it was some NASA
couldn't you
NASA CGI or some meteor or something.
If I got a few bags of cement, put it down as moon dust somewhere, make a little moon lander, and then when people say, well, why would the fake it? It would cost them more to fake it, I can show them it only cost us 30 quid to fake it. You know what I mean?
The moon lander probably.
I'll sell you this one for $2 billion.
Yeah, the moon lander is probably the cheapest thing to, the Homo's tweakers shelter, as a flat Earth asshole would say.
Hubble's the best one. It's got 2 solar panels and a dustbin with a toilet seat on the front. That's the best one.
So I'm just thinking, just an idea. So if you could say, do it where you was measuring things that are 500 miles apart, like say there was 2 landmarks or something, but you was to hover or something over it, there was a mile high or something above it, and the one was like something else was a mile high above it, and to find the distance between them, if it's roughly the same, because obviously the bigger angle that it's going to be, because remember, if the curve's exponential, it's going to, it should be getting exponentially wider apart,
Well, the way I look at it is if it was the size of the sea, as soon as you sat down on the beach and put your eyes down at sea level, it would look like the horizon was, what, 6 foot away or something, because it would just curve out the way. It wouldn't be far, do you know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's a constant curve away from you, so as soon as you get past the point of not being able to see, that's not very far on a ball, is it?
Yeah, true. So I was just thinking about how much, say, further the distance would be from one point to another if you're at an altitude. Because so there's a point that someone was making that if we were on a ball, what's the point in flying at 35,000 feet? Because you'd have to go further around the curve, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Because
Well, it's ridiculous because the first thing you'd think as a child, I did as a child is, how does that work? You spin, everything flies off. I already knew that. But for some reason, this is, that's why we stick on. And
it's gravity.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's something I can't understand. That I'll just take that one then, and then that's it, done. But when you think about it, it's the absolute opposite.
But yeah, because that's a point where if you're flying at say 5 miles up or whatever, or even higher than that, then it's a huge amount. Kind of, I don't know what the maths would be on it, but like how, I mean, it's probably about you'd probably do the sort of like you get the sort of radius and you kind of times it by pi or something like that, don't you? And then that's how you'd find out how much wider of a route it's going to take if we were on a ball, that is.
Yeah.
So
do you know what?
Yeah.
Do you know when you're getting them things on Twitter saying, "Where's your proof?" Why don't you get a picture of the flat Earth and a picture of Hubble and just send them it? You say that's the flat Earth and there's a photograph of it. Shows your proof, and she could only send you the same one back with a round Earth, couldn't she?
Yeah. But they're like, oh, you can't show us a picture of the whole flat Earth, though.
So you go, well, that one's not real, and you go, well, that one's not real neither. Look at the photo.
So you could say to them, how do you know that's a picture of the whole Earth? It looks round, but how can you tell something is?
You should say that's the flat Earth.
It's round, but how can you tell it's spherical?
See, that's it. It's just looking from it straight down. That's all.
Yeah, you have to go all the way around it to tell it's spherical.
Yeah. So how could you prove that one? It's the same thing they're doing when they're saying it's round or flat.
Because I heard some ridiculous argument. You know that one where it was showing America really huge, and they're like, because it's not showing the whole Earth. How come it's like a round thing? It shouldn't. I mean, if the camera's pointing down, would it show a circle?
Yeah, like it's a perspective thing. It's like, what more fucking excuses are you going to use to? It's just stupid. Like, you can't get a landmass on a circle bigger.
So they admit that it might not be showing the whole Earth when they see America smaller as well.
No, the funny thing is, how can you have a different perspective of a fucking ball?
No, what they were saying is that because it was lower down, it was not taking the whole Earth or something.
Yeah, but then you can cut the other one out and put it in it, so it doesn't really matter because you can still
they should
the
be able to
coast
stitch it together like what they supposedly do. Stitch the images together. They're supposedly get ribbons or something. I mean, if you've got all the satellites orbiting up there and they're taking pictures, it should all be able to kind of work together and give you a nice full image.
Yeah, but look at the size difference between.
They shouldn't have to do all the doctoring with all that money they're getting.
Got to spend it on something, Jay. They kind of just show you before they've coloured it in.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, they're getting $19.3 billion a year, whatever it is, and it's like.
Imagine how many felt tip pens you can buy with that.
Well, some believe they're building like some at deep sea or something and trying to build an escape room so if shit goes down, then they have somewhere to go.
It's all fake. Like, even these weapons that the military have, it's all fake, I think. It doesn't matter. It's just to pretend they've got something to scare you.
Suppose that's it, it's like,
you don't have to get it.
Are they really getting 19.3 billion a year? Could that even be a lie?
No. You're getting much more.
What if they're just getting a few million and the rest is just staying with the government?
Well, NASA runs the world, don't they? They're the agency for the world.
What if NASA's just, because people believe, NASA's running the world. Well, what if they're just being paid by these people and they're just
the way I look at it is
or something,
there's NASA in the banking world, and then they just pick governments. So do you want to run
it's just one end of the Hydra, I think.
Yeah, it's just the bank and NASA or the royal family. That's what it's all been set up by, and they just do the job. And these governments, they're just the illusion because there's nowhere that we can vote to say we don't want them. That's not a fucking vote to say you're going to have this or that. That's not to vote no. That's to say if I vote no, I'm getting one.
But no, I don't want them because it's like by not having that choice, it's like you admit to kind of letting them in or something.
But that's like going home and your mum taking all your wages out your pay packets and giving you £1 back, and you say that's not right, and she go, well, I can take it or your dad can take it. It's up to you. And you go, oh well, I'll like me dad the best. I'll not give me dad can take take the money now. Like, none of them should be taking it. It's your money, you work for it. I mean, that's not a choice, is it? Saying one of them have to take it. It's like, they don't build the roads, they don't do anything, they don't run the schools, they don't do anything at all, apart from take the money and tell who can do what. So you actually pay them to tell you what to do. That's why when you tell yourself what to do and you take charge of yourself and you know you're not God or anybody else is in charge other than you and you're responsible for it all, then you see how pathetic these people are. They're not needed. It's like, you don't go down the street because you're scared in case you get killed because there's not a police force following you about. They only turn up when you phone them. So, like, do we really need them? Why can't you just get somebody who's fair to turn up and help you? Why does the law have to get in the way? This makes it unjust.
Yeah, because it's like, because it's the whole centralised authority thing, isn't it? It's like, well, we didn't choose the law, so
I mean, people are waking up there,
it should be, you know, it should be dictated by the people, not.
I'll give you an example,
Jamie.
I'll give you an example. Now, I know people who's had stuff stole off them. They know who stole it. They've told the police went over and said, oh, well, he says he hasn't got it, now we can do. Right? So, is that just because if in a real world you'd go over and you'd just take it back, wouldn't you? Because you know it's yours. Nobody can argue with that. You don't need a court or an investigation. You just need...
Yeah, what people are doing is externalising their power. That's what they're doing.
Well, there are people, aren't there? The police at the end of the day, so you just need good people to do what's right. That's it. If they're somebody small and weak and they've had someone took off them, go over in numbers and make sure they get it back. Eventually, the person who stole it
be our own policemen.
Yeah, but don't do anything that's not needed. There's no
be
need
our
to
own
policemen,
our own doctor, our own.
Well, have you looked doctor up on Google? The word meaning.
It was. I think it was it Pete Shea that was saying about, because doctor, to doctor something, it means to.
I think it was me who was telling you if you go on and look at the words.
Might have
like
been you, I don't know.
Education as well. If you look at education and understanding, the massive difference between understanding and education.
Yeah, understand means to stand under. Actually, that's legalese.
No, I mean there's more than one meaning when you go into Google and the thing. So you've got to look at all of them.
Well, there's understanding, understanding, and overstanding, isn't there?
Some of their meanings and related words are there just to fool you. Do you know, they don't really relate to the word. You've got to look at the words, what real meaning they have. I mean, like the intent of the word.
Yeah, because it's like people think they're clever, like who go on these quizzes. They can answer questions, they can retain information, but they don't understand any of what they know. That's the thing. That's what really makes somebody wise. Yeah,
like I can understand theoretically physics and I understand these massive equations. Then I have to phone somebody to fit me fucking flat pack together.
You don't understand why it works, though. That's the thing. It's like
it doesn't.
You understand how something works. You understand how something works, but not why it works.
Where I could give a massive explanation and assume that works out that why Santa's sleigh flies, but until I get Santa's sleigh in front of us flying, it's all just theoretical nonsense.
Yeah, you can get some theoretical nonsense explaining how Santa can deliver all his presents, but it doesn't make it real.
No.
Like our gravity, they can come up with some explanation for how it can pin trillions of tons of water down to a spinning ball, but there's no way of us validating that.
But even in that itself, that doesn't work out because it has to be a mutual fight between gravity. So if you're a ball in space and I'm a ball of equal size, we get attracted towards each other at the same rate of speed. So
because everything should be having their own gravitational force, but they're like, because the Earth's gravitational field is so big, it's so strong, so it.
Well, then I've got a field, otherwise I wouldn't be joining up with my field to pull in out, otherwise I'd be floating away. So I've got a field as well, if that's the case.
Yeah, because so they say mass attracts, greater mass attracts a smaller mass.
You could say, well, it doesn't work on Earth because it's already in the gravitational pull, so why isn't little things of the same ratio of density not getting pulled towards astronauts in space?
That's true, yeah.
I mean, get a big ball of lead and get a little polystyrene ball in space and just flick it gently and let's watch it go around the big ball of lead. It weighs nothing as well.
Yeah, you should be getting leeches and stuff stuck to you all the time.
Well, as they're moving on the fucking thing, everything should be...
Yeah, we're all spinning and we're orbiting the sun. It's like everything should all be... Because we're a greater mass than insects and stuff. They should all be attracted to us and what have you. But
Have you seen that film Bruno with Sacha Baron Cohen? He's like a fashion model. And at the beginning he walks to he's in the backstage of a Paris fashion weekend or something. He's brought the new prototype Velcro jumpsuit and everything sticks to it. And he just flops out onto the stage with everything stuck to him and then just flings it over and walks down the aisle. Fucking hilarious, but that's what you'd be like. Everything would just be sticking to you as you walk past it. It's littler than you until you got bigger and bigger and crushed. And because
the whole idea that we're orbiting, it's like, well, how is the orbits able to stay like, kind of same? Because
Well, if you
we
think
should
about
be
it,
pulled into some other bigger planet or something.
yeah. Well, if you think about it, everything should be a black hole.
And then the
isn't it?
solar system should all be being pulled towards,
Yeah.
and then the whole Milky Way should be being, everything should all be like
Well, maybe that is
crushing
the
it.
truth.
The whole universe should be crushing in on itself. It's like the complete opposite.
We are in a black hole, then, aren't we? We're in a black hole.
We in a black hole.
Yeah.
You just said we in a black hole. Oh
We
my
are. We're in one now. That's to be the
we
fucking
in a
madness.
black hole. It just sounds so funny that. I know it's immature humour, isn't it?
I was watching a Raj film there called Mr. Nobody. Have you seen it? Oh, it's strange. At the beginning, he gets shot, then he wakes up in bed, then something happens there, then he wakes up somewhere. It's like, oh, no, I was just talking to you about the other night. When you pop into a different reality, it's exactly what I was talking about. So like these things.
Right, so someone's put in the chat, someone called Shade, what, the sun and moon are both circles, why is the earth flat?
Well, here's the thing. When you look at it, I've seen some experiments and he's got little bits of glass on a board. And if you put them a certain way and shines the light on them from the sun, it becomes a circle, like a little circle. It doesn't matter. When it gets to the end of your vision.
That's like saying, why, so if because when I look up, I can see a light bulb, so that must mean I'm living on a light bulb.
Oh, yeah. Like, if I'm riding on a horse, the earth must be a horse, mustn't it, underneath the horse?
I'm living in a car, so it must mean that there's like I'm living on a ship, so the Earth must be a vessel.
Well, it is actually a little bit like that, as far as I'm concerned. Because this is in our heads.
I suppose people think of it like that. Some of them don't. They we're living on a vessel, but you get the point, though. It's like it's crazy.
Well, whatever way you look at it, everything has to be in something else, doesn't it?
Mm.
Everything has to be in something else, even if you're in heaven, that has to be in something. Like, where's the end of that dimension?
Dunno.
It's like if I said to you, how would you know what another? Could you recognise another dimension that doesn't exist?
Well, that we're not in. Rather, it's like if we have to be in that dimension to understand it. It's like if there's other senses that we aren't aware of, then we have to experience them first to be able to conceive of them.
Yeah, but say I've got a pair of Venetian blinds, blinds are in front of me telly, and I just open one slat, and that's all you ever see, because you're only in that dimension. Then it wouldn't make much fucking sense to you, would it? It wouldn't take you until you moved all the lats out the way you'd see the
what are you talking about an onion? You said your onion, what? Your onion.
What? Onion?
You said your onion, you onion. It's the accent I was taking the mick.
Taking the mick.
The mick. Well, you said your onion. Only in one dimension. Only in one dimension.
Have you ever watched that Carl Sagan, Million Billion Trillion?
Oh yeah.
I've seen the full version, goes on for about 15 minutes.
Have you seen that video of Brian Cox, how to see the Earth's curvature? And it's like, it's funny. Like,
I don't really watch much comedy anymore.
No, it was this Wonders of the Stoner System. So somebody edited this video, and it's like,
oh, the coke. I take loads of lines.
I'm on about the Brian Cox, where he's like,
yeah, it's edited together, loads of bits of them on about.
Yeah, and it's like how to get high, and it's like you only need 3 things, and it's like really funny. It's like
just some lines, and he's like going on about that, and what was it?
It was going on about Oldham, and it's at Scablands where geese.
yeah.
It's just crazy.
Well,
it's gonna be look back at as comedy gold. All this stuff.
Oh,
once everyone wakes up, they're all gonna have a good laugh at what they once believed in.
I'm not going to point the finger at anybody and go, nah, I told you, anything like that. I'm going to want a good laugh with them. Do you know what I mean? Like, look what we used to. Yeah. It's like I seen Stephen, what's his name? Brian Cox, on a BBC thing. Like, this is after I woke up and just how ridiculous it was. So he's telling how, in the beginning, like, just briny water and normal water, and he put a charge through it, and he says, and there you go, that's life I've just created. So he's God, he's just created life out of salt water. Like, fuck it, is he right? That's not life. That's something that's live, not life.
Yeah, well, people talk about plants. I mean, is that actually living, do you think? I mean, it's just a biological system, isn't it?
No, No, my plants is dead, but my car battery, that's alive.
Huh. I mean, some actually think that plants are living; they're actually conscious beings
Of
or
course
something.
they are, they are, James.
So you actually believe that they know what's going on
Not in
and
the
what have
same
you.
consciousness as us, yeah, they do know things and they feel things. But their brain is the planet itself, I believe. The electric in the planet, because everything's in the neural network, like in your head. So that's
Yeah,
like the
because they have a
branching out.
connection to the plane,
Well,
don't they?
I think we get our information, little bits of information from them that's in the water.
Well, you was talking about, kicking off your shoes and just going barefoot, because
Well, it's like I was saying to you before. Now, if you was totally healthy diet and you didn't have your calcified, or if you'd clean your water and all that, and all the chemical treatment was out of you mostly, then if you stood with your feet in the water and I stood somewhere else, I don't know how far it would travel over, but I might be able to just get thoughts that you're thinking. And like when sometimes you say something, I'm just about to ask a question and you answer it before I say it. I get that all the time on these hangouts. I'll be sitting just listening and I want to butt in and say a question and it comes up and it's already answered, so I don't even have to ask the question sometimes.
oh yeah.
Do you get that?
I don't know really. I don't really think about it too much, to be honest.
I'm getting a lot of weird shit happening lately. Do you know what I mean? But it's not like I'm trying to use superpowers. It's happening in front of us. It's not like I'm trying to do anything.
I suppose that if you try to do it, it might make it harder.
It just happens. It's like as if this is a better life for me, or it's a better way of thinking. Things happen to reinforce that. Do you know what I mean? And say, yes, yeah, right. Look at this. It's like as if that's happening in front of us. You know what I mean? Everything I talk about, I get to see some scientific fucking proof later on.
Well, anyway, I'm going to be shutting down soon, but it's been good again, hasn't it? We go in live again tomorrow night, so
it's nice talking about different things all the time, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's really interesting. That's why I keep doing it, because it'd be boring just keep talking about no curve and no rotation all the time, wouldn't it? Because it can be done to death. But if we are going to talk about it, we should be talking about other things that we can do to prove it, maybe.
Well, maybe why don't you, just a suggestion, James, you'll hang out, but if you had, like, say, a set topic for a night, like religion, does it matter? Just little things like that. Well,
to keep it open, that's the thing. I like to just...
Yeah, well, it'd be nice to keep it maybe focused on a certain subject for a while.
Yeah, so no one kind of deviates too much. I mean, I might have one where I talk about veganism or something, or I talk about spirituality or
how
whatever.
they actually, think a bit deeper maybe, and then if you stick the subject, you could even have a bit on the end where it's just an all open, just talk about what you want, but no, within them things, let people talk, let them say their bit, then like how they do normally with a rebuttal and all that, and mediate it. It might be interesting.
Yeah, because there's things like on Globe Busters and stuff where they kind of have a set topic for a night, don't they? And they
but it's like, say, we're not scientists, so we kind of get down onto the scientific or astronomical things.
I think we're all meant to be scientists, really, but it depends what you define as a scientist.
What I mean is there's some stuff that even they don't understand, what they've just known off by heart.
The thing is, we know more in some ways than what they do, because they're so indoctrinated.
So instead of getting pulled down their route, don't take the insults, keep fixed on the subject and say, well, tell us how you do that thing with the 2 sticks, for example, without a fucking watch. Do you know what I mean?
It might actually make less trolls appear, because then if you're... it's like, we're not even talking about flat Earth now. It's like, Well,
if you're stuck on one subject like that, how the fuck would you make that measurement with 2 sticks? Now, anybody who wants to come on who's a glober could come on and answer that question, how they would do it without anything other than 2 horses, 2 men, 2 sticks and 2 sundials, right? Now, if they could tell you how to do that, then they're all going to come out the woodwork and tell you how that was done and go out and fucking prove it. But if they can't, then they're going to fucking stay away, which is only going to show other people what they're running away from. Just odd things like that. Do you know what I mean? Can you reproduce?
You know what? When people talk about Jesus coming to save us, right? Well, because he's talking about the Jesus consciousness.
That's coming to save you,
Well, that's what's saving us.
Yeah, it is exactly what it is. But it's just
people need to stop taking the Bible literally. That's what they need to do, really.
Well,
because
that's the fear thing. When you know you're not going to die, you've got no fear, so therefore you've got no control. And if you have the fear of God in you, then you're not.
Well, you were talking about death and how we'll always avoid it.
Yeah.
What about when you get 100 or so and you become so old age? Is it just that they just happen to come up with something that?
Well, no, they could do, right?
Cures death or something.
But at the very worst, you die and you do it again.
So it's like,
if you convince yourself you're going to die, then that's what's going to happen eventually. But you'll just be born again, and your memory's going to be wiped. Yeah, right, done. But you're going to have them feelings again. The next time,
it's like you're playing a game. You'll get a new life, won't you? But on the games, you only have so many lives. That's the thing.
Well, I think you're supposed to remember the next levels that you've already been on, but for some reason they're taking that from us with chemical.
Yeah, that's probably what it is with the whole pineal gland and chakras.
So we having to start right from the beginning.
To calcify all those, so it might be because people talk about about the Akashic records and being able to access them and stuff and know what they were doing in their past lives and things like that and recall things from different lives that they have and stuff. But obviously, like you were saying, it could just be one continuous thing, is that death is just an illusion. It's just because someone's body ceases to exist, it doesn't mean that the soul has ceased to exist.
Within soul was never not there. It's like, even if I think of, it's like you can't, if you've got no eyes, you can't visualize anything, can you? If you was never born with eyes, you can't, they don't have a picture in their head. They have a memory of feelings, touch and times. See what I mean?
Because I was thinking before flat Earth, obviously, there's no way that, I mean, we could have had another life, but we just wouldn't have remembered it. We wouldn't remember it because we start.
Well, there's no point ending this
clean
one.
Slate. We start because it's like, because all our memories are in our mind or something, so they're all wiped. So what's the point of that? Because then we haven't learned anything. We have to go through it again. So what's the point?
It's like everything else, isn't it? If you're walking over a field and you know where there's some potholes, the next time you walk over the field, you know how to walk around them. You don't have to walk into them again. You can if you're not paying attention. But once you mark your path,
say you go into another life and you forget everything that you've learned, then
you're not supposed to, though. That's what I think. You're not supposed to forget it. We're getting chemically treated, destroying all the water and that, so you're not getting
trying
memories
to kind of distract us from what's happened before. Because when people say they've had deja vu and stuff, well,
go on.
That's a slight glimmer of it or something. Maybe
that's a strong memory of another time. It's not really another time because it's all happening at once. It's just time is a construct that is a perception of order. So it feels like you're going somewhere. You couldn't have it all happening at once because that would just, you couldn't make any sense of it. It's just trying to make sense of this. So that's why you learn by your wrong mistake. It's strange, but I have a different sense of being here somehow.
Well, time could be, because people talk about time as a dimension. Well, that could be in that
it's a false dimension.
When we start life, then we die. We just go back to the start again, like you were saying, with the Earth being this kind of like realm where it's kind of you always come back to where you started, even though it's flat. You come back to where you started. It's like, so if time is like that, you go back to the beginning and you start again.
It doesn't exist, so there's no beginning and end to time.
Well, I mean, as in like your
perception of time exists. That's all.
Maybe that's what might appear to go back to the beginning again. Like you're born and you do the same things again, but you can choose to do it, go down a different route. That'll take you somewhere else.
Yeah. So if you believe in fucking space and all that, you're going to go down that route eventually. You're going to have the alien take over. You're going to have God turn up. But not in our reality because we don't accept it. So our reality will turn out how we imagine it would turn out if we want to imagine it that way. Do you see what I mean? It's like we've already split. That's why this seems mad to us. We've already split from the other reality of this not happening.
Do you believe anything that can happen will happen? If you believe
it could
happen, it's going to happen. So it's like, because there's all these possibilities and everyone believes in different things, so all those things are going to happen for the individual, aren't they?
I'll be saying a cell divide into little and littler pieces of the same thing. So everything's like that. Do you know what I mean? Time, any possibility you think of, spouts off into another little break of possibilities. Because then you can put a possibility on that possibility. So you can go down one of them possibilities, but it has to be in the realms of possibility. Do you know what I mean? So that way time comes in, it has to play out in a certain way. So like, say, if you don't believe, say you believe you die at a certain age, you're going to die at a certain age, and that's what happens in that possibility.
Well, they could maybe try a test on people who believe they're going to die at 73 or 88 or whatever.
It's not we doing the test on ourselves.
No, I mean, if they did a test and it turned out for them that they did die.
No, but we created them there right now in our reality, and they're responsible for it. But we're responsible for it.
How can they die in our reality? And they maybe I can't quite kind of. But...
Well, for your, you've only got it from your perspective all the time, haven't you? There's only you.
Because you talk about the body decomposing and stuff, and it's like that's
what you witness, isn't it?
Like
if you see
what about someone else in that room at the time, because they were all experiencing that same thing.
Well, that's in your reality, yeah, of course, yeah. Well, that's in your reality and theirs. But for the person who's decomposed and rotted away, they haven't died. They've just gone to another reality.
Well, I thought you were saying that they actually don't die in this reality or something.
Well, they're in a different vibration. They're on a different frequency. They're in another dimension to this. They're in the same place. They're sitting on like a ghost, but they're not. You kind of feel.
So you believe in ghosts, then, do you?
No, not in that way. Not like
maybe ghosts do exist.
Yeah, exactly. Now, if you believe them enough, you're going through to the other dimension because you believe. It's the same way when you die. If you believe there's no way you're going to die, you're going to pop through to the other dimension where you do. Would that be like like a ghost. You force yourself there to pop into that new existence. It's like, say your life passes beyond in front of your eyes as you're drowning. So they say, well, that's sort of giving you all the different possibilities that you've got, because one of them might match and help you get you out of that situation. Well, it actually does get you out of the situation, because all the other ones where you did drown. You just keep going into the one where you got out. So
how does that happen then?
You kind of
So
destroy.
you don't think anyone ever will drown then?
You kind of create energy and you kind of destroy it, and that's what we are.
Because no one will be able to come back and say that they drowned. So
well, because they could say and almost drown another. It's not a memory. Yeah, it's an imagination.
Apparently, there was a video that someone almost drowned and saw the afterlife.
Yeah, well, it's not an afterlife. You already, if you're around to tell the story,
another dimension or something. Is that what it is?
It has to be multi-dimensional, because it's like that. You get back to that same question: what's everything in? It has to be within itself all the time. So there's nothing else you can explain this. You can't have something that's.
So what do you think this realm is in then?
Well, I think this is death myself. This isn't. It's the same thing. It's not like it's different. So say like you know that we come from your mother, and that's how we're born, and we go through, and we get old, and we die, right?
Yeah.
So now I run the film backwards. You know that you're old. You come out the ground. You run backwards. Now that's the norm for you. What would be the fucking difference? You wouldn't know that the film was going backwards if it's the only way you've ever known it going backwards. See what I'm saying? You wouldn't know you was going backwards if you was going backwards.
Yeah, it's like when you say about the magnetic north, is that we're always told it's north. We believe it's north, but it's actually south.
South, you go on to Google, look it up. It says it's actually the magnetic south. It's because the north's drawn towards it. We call it the north.
So because we've always known something a certain way, it's the
opposite way around. That's why everything's back to front, Jamie.
Yeah, they flip everything on you. It's the law of reversals.
The only way it makes sense of it is by running it forwards. It's the only way it makes sense. It cannot.
Yeah, because did you see the whole thing? The symbology with the what Oprah Winfrey and some at Harpo Studios. It was Oprah backwards.
Yeah,
and they always have this symbology, and instead of counting down, they count up or something like when.
Yeah, like they count down for the takeoff. Yeah,
is that what it is? Did they count down or up? I can't remember, but
well, here's another one. Everything's so if you was in a mirror image. Now I've done LSD before, and I had a feeling everything was round the opposite way, but the same. Do you know, like as if left was right, right was left, but everything looked the same. And I've experienced that, so that was weird. Well, if you look at people, if we're coming through from these other things and we're not getting all the information, look at Russian writing. You've got some letters that's actually a mirror image. It's around the other way. You got words that mean things in the same in whichever way you read them. You know what I mean? Sometimes it'll flip the other way, even like up and down. If you got a P in it, like a dupe or something like that, and flip it over and flip it around, it says the same thing. It's like it's all fucking mind blown.
So yeah, no one will ever say they ever drowned or something.
Only you'll know. That's the whole point. Only you'll.
So, but would you drown if you believed you were going to drown? Then
you say you pop out of this reality and you believe in God and heaven and all that, then you're going to go fucking straight there. Yeah. If you believe that's really truly believe you've been the good person and you've judged yourself to be like that, then you're going to go to this heaven where you deep down that you know you haven't told the truth, and you're going to get.
Yeah, because Quasi-Luminous talks about this whole heaven on earth thing.
Yeah.
He may have a good point if it's like kind of if everyone can believe that that's going to happen, then it's going to manifest.
Yeah, well, that's what it's all. The whole end game is that heaven you hear about, the Garden of Eden. That's the end game. That's what we all strive towards.
Yeah, because this place is supposed to be heaven, but they're trying to make it hell. That's what.
Yeah, and it's like what Pete was saying. There's one that has a natural Garden of Eden, and there's another one that's paved with gold and emeralds. That's the hell. That's when you become materialistic. You got to be in nature. You could just flip. Imagine you can flip into the mind. Think of a third dimension. I was trying to say to you the other night. Now I say we're in two, and the third one is seeing the other angle. Me looking through your eyes at the other side of the ball you're looking at. That's the only way I could imagine 4D is I could actually see what you're seeing at the same time as I'm seeing what I'm seeing.
That'd be pretty much impossible, though, wouldn't it?
Well, that's because we say that, isn't it?
Well, that's true. We never know, really, do we?
You doing what everybody else is doing. You're saying that's impossible. Now, if everything became possible.
Yeah, right? That's true.
Now, imagine being able to just jump in the body of an animal and it being in you, and you could run about and change back anytime you want.
Yeah, that'd be cool, that, wouldn't it? You could just become a falcon and fly at 200 miles an hour.
Would you get dreams of that? I've had dreams of being like not a person flying, but something running really fast or jumping off buildings and like a monkey. It's like I've had all these in artificial dream type states.
So, but you say if you believe it could happen, then it could happen or something. I don't know.
We know it's like you one brain cell that's come up with this idea. You got to convince the rest before it happens.
Yeah, because the whole
otherwise you won't experience it.
The whole levitation and telekinesis and things like that.
Well, it's like once you can justify how it works, and there's no way of disproving it, then it actually does work because that's telling you that it can work. See what I mean? Like that sort of way.
Because if we all believe that we can do it, then it can manifest then, can't it?
So seeing is believing, isn't it? So we need to see it in your mind first, so it's been done somewhere else. So once you've seen it happen, then you put it into practice, you make it, and then it happens here, and it just doesn't.
There has to be some way of it manifesting. If you can conceptualize something, then it has to be possible.
Yeah, well, everything's the same pattern.
If you can see a bird flying and you can imagine yourself flying and stuff, it's like there has to be a way that we could, make ourselves be able to fly. Then it's like,
well, we thought it out. We know how a bird's wing works, so it's already been thought out. We know that's possible.
And we know how they're manipulating the air so that they can stay buoyant.
It's consciousness we don't know about. That's the thing that joins us all. It's like in the Bible, it says we have dominion over the animals. Now, what does that mean? We've got control over them.
Yeah, that kind of sounds satanic, doesn't it? I mean, I suppose the whole Satan is all kind of
we don't even
thing.
Have you ever thought a big pile of tigers? Would you just look to just fucking lie in the middle of them with a big rumble and not harming you like a pet, just lying on them. Do you know what I mean? Those big cats and things. If you could just rub shoulders with them and have mutual respect, that would be amazing, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be an amazing place to be? And you just pick your food off the trees and bushes.
I don't know.
Because people can create amazing things, like the music machines and just making a song even. Like, I love all the Flat Earth songs, even when they sound a bit shitty, they're still brilliant because it's just people doing what's good.
It's about expressing themselves. It's not.
Yeah, and that's
it's
what
like, if you don't like it, that's your problem, isn't it? It's like,
yeah, but it's a bit of them that they put out. It's like, is it Isaiah, somebody who's playing a song?
Because the people in the music industry, they're being censored due to what the music industry wants to put out,
Jamie, music's no different to television. The music will play, that relaxes you, then the subliminal messages come in with it.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
It's exactly the same. Look, John Lennon and all that.
Over 40 hertz or whatever it is, and it's like, you can say for them to brainwash you into,
Well, your thoughts are all frequencies. Your thought that you think in your head is the same frequency that comes out your throat, but much higher. Now, belief, that must be the highest frequency. That holds everything together. That focuses everything on something. Belief. Because it has to be. It has to be.
Yeah, because I don't agree with no beliefs, but it's about understanding that
there's no such a thing as no belief, because when you don't believe something, the opposite thing is to believe something else. It's the, what's it called?
Like atheism and stuff. It's like, if you don't believe in God, then that means that you believe there isn't a God or something.
Yeah,
it's like,
it's still, if you cannot say it without using the word belief. So if you can't say, you wouldn't say I don't believe in Santa Claus and keep referring to Santa Claus. So if you have to say the word belief, then you're using it, aren't you? If I said don't believe something, you're still using the word belief.
Yeah.
It's like the opposite. It's the defect to what's it called, man? When as soon as you disbelieve something, you go to the belief.
So do you have to believe in something to even understand what belief is?
I mean, to believe it's not a ball, you have to believe that it's at least flat where you're standing on it. You have to believe something.
Yeah, because our stance is that it's flat and stationary, but we don't know that for sure because we've never.
It's like any model. If we know it's not a ball, but then because we know it's not a ball, that means we can't say what it is at all because we don't know. That's all we admit is we don't know what fuck it is, and it's not what you say it is. So to even come up with any idea of anything else is a bit ridiculous because we could never go out and validate it, especially when your eyesight doesn't go that far.
Yeah, they play on our optics, don't they? That.
So it's that thing again.
We can see a ship disappearing over the horizon just a few miles away.
But yet
they say that we shouldn't see a curved horizon because the Earth's too big. Well, I know you said that we shouldn't see a curved horizon, but the Globers will say that at some point you should do.
Yeah. Well, this is when we go.
How can you have a curved horizon though? That's like an oxymoron right there.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. They're putting that on. They're adding something that's not there, and we believing that it's not that because of the absence of something. There's no curve, so therefore it has to be flat. Like where they're getting the hump from because it can't be measured.
Well, what they'll say it's locally flat, so it seems flat to our perspective.
But they even say it out of an aeroplane window, don't they?
That's what they say.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't. Even if you went up high, you still shouldn't say it.
Well, I'm not too sure, to be honest. I mean, it's kind of debatable because if it's something that we don't live on, then it's something that can't be tested.
Well,
unless you was to get like a scaled down, like if you was to model it, say in 3D or something, then you might be able to find out whether.
Well, what's the problem is is we cannot see it all at once. So what do we usually say? Oh, if you could only see from my point of view. So maybe if we could all see through other people's eyes, because we really can, if we could see it all at once, and that would be the other dimension, wouldn't it? See it from everybody else's point of view at the same time as yours. And that would tell you what it was for sure, wouldn't it?
Right.
But imagine that many eyes feeding into your brain.
Yeah, I think on those thoughts, I'm going to have to. I've been on here a few hours again, so I don't want to keep it going on forever.
No, that's been another interesting one.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, we'll be around tomorrow night then.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll usually come on when you're on. Sometimes I don't like putting out in the chat. Just like
sometimes you just hang around in chat or something, But
yeah, but if you get stuck, I'll always come on with the chat. No?
Yeah, well, it just depends who wants to come on, because if there's someone new, probably focus on them or something and see what they have to say.
I like new ideas and that.
Yeah, because the brain, it's a muscle, isn't it? So
yeah, you got to keep adding more to it. You don't want to just stay.
Yeah, because you have to kind of wear it slightly with thinking about things, and then it'll grow stronger and bigger.
It's like some of the stuff I come up with. I know it sounds fucking absolutely ridiculous to people, but at least I'm using my mind. That's what we just encourage you to do. Oh, you can't prove that. Don't even say it. No, you can say what you fucking want. You know what I mean? Because it's your life. Right, I'm gonna get off, Jamie. Leave you.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on again. It's been
nice talking to you.
It's been good at talking again. And it's just I think the main message of this is just try and focus on the now and what we can do now, really, and just because obviously we can help to manifest things in the future, but it's about what we do right now that's going to affect that.
It's as simple as this. Just think for yourself. Stop being told what to think, what to like, what not to like. Just open your eyes and look. That's it.
So when Eternal, just before we go, when Eternal Padawan was saying that this whole flat Earth awakening, it's going to be their excuse to kill us all off. Well, that's because he believes that maybe.
Well, that's right. So he says that because they're going to kill us all off. No, this is the state they want you in, of thinking you're going to get killed.
Because you remember when he was saying that, and that's the state of fear that they want you in, isn't it?
But when you state of mind is in your fear things, it opens you up to that. So now he said, I noticed before, I'm not pulling him down in any way. He's entitled to his views, and I like him. He had him on about the 4D map, and he's 99% sure that this is what it is.
Well, that's what he said about
it's a map. It's a map. It's a piece of paper. You're gonna have to witness it with your eyes.
You can't map out reality because it's something probably that's
in a 4D one you wouldn't be able to understand.
It's not something that you can model.
4D, drawing a 4D map is like saying, look at my HD telly on your low HD, and look at it through your HD screen.
Or it's like saying,
look at this 3D effect.
It's like saying that let's draw the seventh sense or the 58th sense or something. You can't do it because it's abstract.
Yeah, but it's like saying, look how good quality picture is on my telly through your telly. It's like you can't say the quality of mine. It's restricted by the quality of yours. So you couldn't show us a 4D map in a 3D world.
Yeah, because it's compromised by losing that dimension, isn't it?
Yeah, so you can't even think it because it's out of our dimensions.
It's out of our realm of understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway.
99% sure of not understanding.
Yeah, still not 100%, so he doesn't fully believe in it then.
No, it's just this, when you start to believe that it's going to come to an end, you start to be more open to for suggestion.
If more than, 50% of us can believe that we're going to come out of this alive, then maybe that'll happen.
I think it's if 51% of us want to change, it'll change, that's it.
Yeah, so that's what we've got to focus on, is like making people think more positively and just...
No, it's to make them think of themselves and change themselves. We shouldn't try to change anybody. We should leave them exactly how they are.
Yeah.
And just change yourself, Jamie, and tell others.
Because by changing yourself, you'll change everything around you, won't you?
Well, it's like, I was watching the Hangout with Imaginary Curve with Dell.
Oh, yeah.
He says I should get a couple of bands in, and like he just had a joke about it, but I thought, something that would be a really fucking good idea, because if anybody tuned in and there's people enjoying themselves playing music, I think I want to be part of that. Yeah, because
why would even the trolls would just, enjoy it, they just,
like, no, we know
entertainment for them, wouldn't it? So it's like...
Now we know it's all a lot of it's faked and all that, so now we don't have to sit there dwelling and saying, come to this reality where everybody's fucking against us and everything's fucking, you're going to die. Like, come to this reality because we no longer believe in this shit.
More of a kind of easier way for people to accept it, maybe, than,
I want to go and have fun, Jamie. I don't want to sit there worried about things. I want to see people doing creative stuff and me being part of that.
Yeah, because it made me feel a bit kind of worried when people are talking about, the end.
It's horrible. It's fucking terrifying.
And all that, but the end times could just be, as Pete Shea was saying, the end of the world as we know it.
Which terrifying, and it's to put you in a certain state. Now, if you go to a religious thing and you go back in time, it's been the end of the world all the way through till fucking now, man. It's never going to stop. It's always going to be the fucking end of the world.
Yeah, because it probably
that,
manifests for these people who self-fulfilling prophecies, isn't it?
The end was near when I got into it, Jamie, and it got past that, and then I had to wait for the other end, and I was telling people it's going to be the end of the world, and then Obama's the last president, and then here comes along.
I heard about that Trump or Hillary would never get in, and something would happen, some false flag event would happen, and then Barack Obama would be the new world order president or something.
Yeah, so now if I was on the religious,
or something.
if I had still stayed religious, right? No, I would have been saying, "Oh, well, God's changed his mind." I would have made some excuse up like they do for the ball. I've just fitted what I thought was why it's changed and it hasn't played out in 2016.
They keep coming up with an excuse, won't they?
Yeah, well, who's coming up with that excuse? Is that them just justifying God hasn't killed us yet?
Yeah, it's like when you watch these, like these soap operas, for instance, and every so often you'll get somebody who decides to leave. They have to come up with an excuse as to why they're going to leave.
Yeah.
So they're constantly making it up as they go along, aren't they?
Yeah, I know.
Reality is probably doing that. It's just making itself up as it goes along,
Yeah, I'm going to have to go. There's someone at the door.
Yeah, well, I need to go as well. So thanks for coming on, and I'll chat to you again soon. And just keep doing what you do. Just keep believing in yourself and believing in everyone else, and
we'll get there, won't we?
Yeah, we'll all get there in the end. Not in the end, but in the beginning.
No, yeah, we'll definitely get there, though. Right, I'm going to catch you later, Jamie.
The infinite time continuum.
I'll catch you later.
Yeah. Cheers, guys. Thanks for coming on again and for the chat and everything. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow night if you guys aren't busy. So till then, peace.